Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Here we are. Um yeah. The how's everyone doing this evening? Tonight let's talk about Melisandre. And this is mainly an exercise in um I don't know whether Melisandre has any powers or not, but I definitely think she has less than people think. So the history of Melisandre is kind of funny because we get introduced to Melisandre in the prologue of the Clash of Kings, and we're led to believe, from Cressen's perspective, that she's this mystical woman that can survive death, by drinking some poison. And then we get this side. Then we hear about her seeing things in flames, and you're like, oh, so magical and so mystical. And then we hear about this invisible person with the coat with the shadow of Stannis, killing Renly. And then Davos sees a shadow come out of Melisandre's vagina, and she seems to know all of this stuff. And then Davos tries to kill her, but she knows the assassination plot is coming. And then when they come to the wall, Orell's eagle bursts into flames, and Jon thinks it's Melisandre. And so you've got this idea that Melisandre has got powers. But then in A Dance with Dragons, we get this Melisandre chapter, and we find out that a lot of that's just bullshit, right? Is it that? And it's very interesting that George suddenly backtracks on it. She said, so this is the actual quote in here. That's kind of the useful one. Okay. So when the boy was gone, Melisandre washed herself and changed her robes. Her sleeves were full of hidden pockets, and she checked them carefully, as she did every morning, to make certain all her powders were in place. Powders to turn fire green or blue or silver. Oh, I forgot to mention, one of the other powers is that she has this mystical hold on Stannis, Okay. Powders to turn fire green or blue or silver. Powders to make a flame roar and hiss and leap up, higher than a man is tall. Powders to make smoke. A smoke of truth, a smoke for lust, a smoke for fear, and the thick black smoke that could kill a man outright. The Red Priestess armed herself with a pinch of each of them. So all of a sudden, George wants to dial it back. All the dancing flames shit. Well, that was actually her doing powders, which is funny, right? If Melisandre has the ability to explode eagles, and she has the ability to make shadow babies that can, traverse miles and miles and kill people, why is George depriving her of the ability to make flames dance, right? Something that he actually gave people the power to do in A Clash of Kings, when basic pyromancy was something that a street performer had in A Clash of Kings, in Qarth. So why is George backtracking here? And so because George backtracks here, let's do the exercise and say, well, how far can we backtrack? What, does Mel have any powers at all? Let's try to science it out and think about what could explain everything that we've seen so far. And is it explainable? It is explainable with Mel having no powers at all. So first of all, Mel having a hold over Stannis and the lust aspect of that's explained with smoke. Apparently, Mel has been date raping Stannis. They get together. She puts him some smoke, some powders. The smoke makes him horny, and she's been date raping him. So that right there is there. People don't talk about that very much. People don't talk about Mel date raping Stannis. But that's definitely something that's happening. But anyway, so beyond that, her surviving the poison that Crescent puts in his goblet, I think that's fairly easy to figure out. I mean, I think you can say that Pylos or someone warned Melisandre that some poison was coming, and that she just had an antidote like available. And so I don't think that is too difficult. So then we then get to like, okay, the hardest thing is of course like the shadow baby. And of course they are kind of different, the two shadow babies. Okay. The first one's an invisible man that casts the shadow that looks like, then the shadow looks like Stannis. And, and I would say that this is very much a situation of Forbidden Planet, which is George R. R. Martin's favorite movie that he's said many, many times. It is the plot of Forbidden Planet. Someone is asleep. Their subconscious mind goes out and does something. And then he comes back and he has dreams about it. Okay. It's precisely the same story that's happening with Stannis. Is he has dreams about killing Renly. It seems to be his subconscious id. You forgot about the id, if you've ever seen Forbidden Planet. So, it may be that Melisandre, they're like, well, isn't Melisandre doing some magic there? Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't know if she's giving him some sort of psychotropic medicine that allows Stannis to do the actual thing. And then people say, well, what about the shadow baby that kills Courtney Penrose? And you're like, well, we don't know if a shadow baby killed Courtney Penrose. We know that Davos seems to see something, and Courtney Penrose dies. But there was a lot of people that could have killed Courtney Penrose. And in fact, there's people theorize throughout the story around it. So we don't know. We don't have any confirmation that Shadow Baby number 2 killed Courtney Penrose. It's pretty clear that something weird and magical happened with Shadow Baby number 1, but it might have been some sort of drug that was given to Stannis that allowed him to warg open air or something. But we don't know if it's actually Melisandre's abilities. So and then people, there's a few other things. Okay, we get to the exploding eagle. No, people rarely talk about the exploding eagle, but an eagle explodes during when Stannis invades, and Jon assumes that it's Melisandre, and Melisandre just kind of takes credit for it. But Melisandre would take credit for something that wasn't hers too, and she never. So it may have been that the eagle exploded for some other reason. It crossed the barrier of the wall. Somebody hit it with a fire arrow, something. Like it might have not been Mel. She never talks about it or thinks about it. Never explodes anything else. So there. Shadow Baby 2, like again, I'm sorry, I passed over Shadow Baby 2. Like what Davos sees, she specifically says she has smokes that make people scared. She could have had a smoke that made Davos have some sort of hallucination where he thinks something's coming out of her vagina. So the moving on to seeing things in the flames. This is the big one. Everybody's like, everybody says, Melisandre sees things in the flames. She must be magical. She sees things in the flames. And we know from her perspective, she does see things in the flames. But the argument here is seeing things in the flames an ability of the person seeing them? Because we know Stannis has seen things in the flames. And we know that Jaime has had dreams when he was slept on a stump, and we know that Cersei has prophetic dreams, and we know that Ned has prophetic dreams, and we know that Jon has prophetic dreams, and we know that Arya has prophetic dreams, and we know that Sansa has prophetic dreams, we know that Bran has prophetic dreams, and we know that Maester Aemon seems to have some funny dreams, and we know that Dany has prophetic dreams. Now, yes, some of those characters are kind of magical, but taking someone like Jaime, where no one thinks Jaime's magical, okay? No one thinks Jaime's magical, and yet he's getting prophetic dreams. So just because someone is sending visions to Mel doesn't mean Mel has any fucking abilities, okay? So there's that. Then we get... and then I would say another very difficult one to explain is glamour. So she seems to at least make Mance look like Rattleshirt at some point, you know, to a degree that people can fool it. And that one's tough. That one's tough to explain. I mean, maybe the costume was really convincing, but I think maybe the amulet has the power and not Mel. We don't know if Mel has any power. It might be in the amulet. And then there's some weird things about Mel thinks she's really old. She has some memories saying that makes it seem that she may be very old, and she also claims that she doesn't sleep in her own head, which is impossible, right? The oldness thing, there's no good explanation for that other than she's got a screwy memory or something. But because she says for years beyond count, she could, I think it's years beyond count, she could what is it? Let me see here. Yeah, Melisandre had practiced her art for years beyond count, and she had paid the price. There's no good explanation for that other than Melisandre can't really count. She can't count more than like 30 years. She can't count beyond 30 years. So there's no good explanation for that one. And as her not sleeping, it could be that she's just narcoleptic and she doesn't know that she's sleeping. Like she's sitting down in a chair and then she's like, and then she wakes up and she didn't even realize she was asleep. That's my explanation for that one. Those are, what's weird is the hardest ones to explain is a random line about years beyond count and her not sleeping. But like, those aren't really great magical abilities. Anyway, that's my discussion of Mel. I think she does have, now again, I think, you know, it's hard to take it to the extreme. But I do think she has less power than people think. And certainly I don't think the exploding eagle was her. But anyway, so how's it going? Things, you know, things are, you know, it's fine. Everything's fine. Emailed you some thoughts on Oldtown. Yes. Trippin' Zombie Z, he sent me a message on about Oldtown, his idea in the fanfic, and it was there was an interesting aspect to it where he was saying that what if the Citadel had some knowledge that they didn't want Euron to get a hold of, and so they burn their stash, they burn their library. They have an Alexandria moment, and as Sam leaves, he looks back and he sees this like burning city, you know, in either red, you know, orange flames or maybe green flames from wildfire, because of the green flames of the high towers or something, and it would, you know, be like the Tower of the Hand and things like that. And it's a very interesting idea, because I kind of believe that, if we're talking about like when Bran leaves the werewood, at least when we saw on the show that the werewood is destroyed when Bran leaves. And I think this is a legitimate George plan. And I think it thematically makes sense, because God is dying. And once God dies, man is responsible for his own destiny, right? And you can parallel that to Cersei blowing up the Sept. So she is killing God at the same time, right? Old gods, new gods are both burned. Now, in a similar sense, there's less of the godly aspect to it, but in the knowledge sense, when the old gods get burned, all of the knowledge is gone, right? And there's that similar aspect to the Citadel and the old gods, like this depository of knowledge in both places. And it's such a sad idea, the Library of Alexandria, and all of the knowledge lost, and all of the knowledge lost with the Citadel burning. It's so sad. It's something I don't want to happen. But when Trippin' Zombie Z wrote it, I was like, oh God, that's so horrible. I don't want that to happen. The Citadel. And then I was like, oh God, like that's like such a George thing. Like the minute you're like, oh God, that's such a horrible thing to happen, you're like, oh, that's a George thing. Damn it. It does feel like George. Like it's such a shame. It's so sad that all of that knowledge and everything great would be taken from us. I think that's a great idea. I think it's probably going to be in the fanfic. But I think it's the one thing though that I wish there was more time with Oldtown to establish how wonderful this depository of knowledge is, and how much wealth is there. That unfortunately hasn't been done yet. So like you can burn Oldtown and it's really sad, but we don't really know. Like it hasn't really been described like how wonderful this knowledge is. So I think that needs to be done before the burning, because otherwise, you're killing us. It's like killing a stranger, a man died. Well, there's a big difference between a man died and Chuck died, because all of a sudden, once you name somebody, Chuck who has a family of 3, or who like to drink, coffee, on Wednesday mornings, like all of a sudden, the more you hear about Chuck, the sadder it is that Chuck died, Anyway, Tywin killed Tysha, wherever whores go is hell. I think, as logical as it is for Tywin to kill Tysha, and he probably should have. If he were going to kill Tysha, he would do it to torture Tyrion. Like that's the thing, is that like Tywin would totally be like, "Yeah, I killed your wife," like just to punish him, just to torture him. That's just Tywin's personality. So the fact that Tyrion doesn't know that Tysha was killed probably means that like Tywin didn't kill her, because had he killed her, he would have held it over him, been like, yeah, I killed your wife, haha, because she was a lying slut, and you should have known better. That would have totally his MO. So I don't think Tysha is dead. I don't think Tywin killed her. He probably should have. It probably would have been, in a smart, logical way of protecting his line and his assets and all of that. But I don't think he killed her, because he would have totally held it over Tyrion. Can you comment on the Trump-Zelenskyy fight? It's hardly a fight. I was just clearly Trump had a plan to ambush Zelenskyy. It doesn't make any sense that all of a sudden somebody's like, why aren't you saying thank you enough? And like the guy said thank you a million times. Like clearly this was have you guys been there's been this movement to call Trump Krasnov? Have you heard about this? Is that a Krasnov? Yeah, there's been this movement to call Trump Krasnov because apparently there's this story that the KGB tried to recruit Trump and would refer to him as Krasnov in stories. So everyone's like, well, he must be like a fucking agent because there's nothing that explains Trump's actions. Like Trump's actions are so outrageous now. Like why is he so pro Russia? Like why is he so pro Russia? Like Putin is a horrible fucking dictator who fucking murders people and abuses his people, and it's just the worst. Invades countries. Okay. I'm gonna make it very clear that I am 100% behind Ukraine here. Okay. Ukraine was a country that was invaded. And so it's yeah, I mean it's hard to explain. I think it's a very sad day for, I mean, America's falling apart, the wheels are falling off, but like it's going to destroy America's credibility for generations. And there's the reason, like one of the big things about how most presidents work is that with regards to foreign policy, even when the last president did something that they disagreed with, they continued the policy on because continuance was important. And so, and so your partners can be predicted. It can predict your actions. They can trust you and things like that. Right now, even if, Trump gets out of office and we have a good president in the future, people are still going to be like, well, what happens when your term is up? Like, how can we honor this agreement? How can we honor this treaty when the next president can just tear it up? That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. That wasn't a problem before. There was a continuation of U.S. policy. Like, even when it was a bad policy. Like, it's not like the minute Obama got into office, he was like, let's leave Iraq. Like, no, he like fucking continued on. That's just what he did. Like, that's what one does. Until the Trump era. It's really horrible. I don't think America's recovering from any of this. Our European allies, are moving on without us, which is, who can blame them? In regards to the fanfic, if the Winds of Winter sample chapters didn't exist, how would you write those characters' stories differently? Arianne, Barristan, etc. That's a very good question. I will tell you that most of the sample chapters, where the characters are, is a complete surprise. Like I would have never thought, based on like Arianne, where we last left Arianne, right? She's at dinner with Doran. They're hearing about the people heading north. There's a little bit of mention about the Golden Company landing, but at any point did you think, oh, she's gonna just go into the Stormlands with a company of 6 people and try to find Jon Con? A move that largely doesn't make any sense. Like, Doran is sending off someone to become a hostage. Like, it's really weird. Like, had I put the Arianne sample chapters forward as like an idea for the fanfic, I think people would be like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is this? Why would Doran do this? And I'd be like, he's just doing it. Like, um, or take Elaine. Like the Elaine sample chapter, there's zero like lead up to the fact that all of a sudden there's going to be a fucking joust. Like there's going to be a tourney, okay? And that people are going to come from all around the Vale and arrive in a fucking chapter, right? Had I done that, somebody would have been like, but the hands tourney was like several chapters. There was all this planning to build up to it. You can't just have a fucking tourney all at once. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right. You know, there's certain freedoms that George can do. When it's George, it's like, well, it's George. No one questions it. But like, even if it doesn't make any sense, like how are you going to plan a tourney in the middle? Like when winter is coming and everybody from all around the Vale is going to all of a sudden like head there and you're like immediately? Yes. Okay. So, I would have never fucking guessed. I would have never fucking guessed to have any of the chapters. Like, you know, to have Aaron in the holds of the Silence when everybody thought he was on the Iron Islands, like trying to have a rebellion. You know, like that's what my chapter would have been about. I would have been about Aaron on the Iron Islands trying to, you know, stoke rebellion against the puppets that Euron has left, you know, and taking over or something. You know, maybe like the ones Tyrion and Barristan and Victarion might be the most predictable, but I don't think I would have thought of sending Barristan out of the walls. I mean, I would have been like, why would he be leading a sortie? You know, so you might have something with Victarion and the Horn and attacking and have a battle there with Tyrion involved, but I probably wouldn't have sent Barristan out. Because it's not a very smart move, you know. Also, I wouldn't have two Tyrion sample chapters. I wouldn't have two Aerion sample chapters. Like, no way would I have done that. And then Mercy. I mean, Mercy's an interesting one. It would have been really hard for me to write the Mercy chapter, considering all of the pedo stuff in there. That's a tough one to write. But yeah, I guess that would probably be one of the more similar ones. Like she would just be on a different murder tour. Maybe you could guess. Maybe I would have thought of like, because in the epilogue they say that they're bringing the Mountain's Men, that she would run to the Mountain's Men and want to kill them or something. You know, maybe her running into Harry Swift would be something that would be thought of. But is that all of them? Is that all the sample chapters? Oh, Theon. I would have not have guessed that Theon would have been like treated so poorly. I guess I guess it all makes sense, but I guess I wouldn't have necessarily done that. I'm not sure what I would have done. Him talking. I mean, would it have been Stannis? Probably had I done the Theon. I think Theon came out great, George, but I'm trying to think like in my own mind, it probably would have been more of a Theon Asha chapter. You know, that kind of things. Mel's got eagle exploding powers. Meh, probably not. I don't know, you know. She alluded to that she has a shadow binder. Right. But yeah, what is the shadow binder? You know, what does it mean to shadow bind? We don't really know. Let's see here. What's up, everybody? glamours. Are you burnt out on Fire and Blood over analyzing House of the Dragon? No, it's just I've had other stuff. I've been very, very busy the past few months, and like certain things have taken priority. And when I sit and I go, okay, what can I put out that's fast? Because I've been so busy, I kind of go, okay, I can do going over a Game of Thrones pretty easily, and so those get done. Or when Carmine's like, hey, let's do a podcast, I'm like, okay, it's like I know I need to help him out and do podcasts. And then there's certain things that are just in my head that, the fanfic is, I'm always thinking about the fanfic and I always want to push the fanfic forward. And then there's just, different ideas that I somehow feel passionate about, and like what I'm into. So it's not that I'm burned out on over analyzing House of the Dragon, and I will get back to it. It's just that it's like Fire and Blood, like House of the Dragon is not going to be back until 2027, 2026. And so I kind of like know that there's other stuff I need to do first, so it's not that. Though there is one over analyzing House of the Dragon that I've like 90% finished that I should just finish off and put out. But I've been pushing other stuff too, like my book and stuff like that, which so it's not that I'm burned out on it. Like overanalyzing House of the Dragon is actually quite fun, and if I were doing it again, I'd probably get into it and keep going. But like I just kind of, you break that chain of like what's on your mind and what you get motivated to do. I'm sure, and you get excited about other things. That's all. I'm not burnt out on it. It's just I have other things in the way. Preston, I commented a kind of interesting bit on the last Ned chapter you did on Robert's last conversation with Jon Aaron. Any good way to get to you? And if you had to pick, who's Jon and Dany's parents? Much love. Yeah, you get. I most check the fanfic email. If you want to check, send something on the Sweet Robin's fanfic one. I check that more often than I check Preston Jacobs' business inquiry. If I had to pick who's Jon and Dany's parents, this is this weird thing with the story. Okay. Like if we're talking about like R+L = J, and one of the reasons why I like resisted R+L = J for so long is that, one, the text doesn't support it, and two, like it's trite, right? And those two things frustrated me because the text just didn't fucking support it. Now, really standing back, you kind of go, okay, well, yeah, the text doesn't support it, but that doesn't mean that it's not just in there, right? Like if I'm watching, let's say I'm watching Billy Madison as a movie, or okay, you remember this Adam Sandler movie, Billy Madison? Okay. All right. I want to talk about like everything logical about Billy Madison lets you know that there is no way that let me find a good picture of her, because like the teacher in Billy Madison, right? Okay, she's this like beautiful woman. The actress went on to marry, I think, Pete Sampras, right? She played Sonia in Mortal Kombat. Combat actress. What's a yeah, Bridget Wilson is her name, right? Bridget Wilson, beautiful, beautiful model-like woman, right? And Billy Madison is a fucking idiot. Like, he's literally a fucking idiot. Okay. And he's making they've sent a full-grown man back to school in like second grade, and he's a fucking idiot. And he thinks it's like charming. There's a scene where he like trips and grabs her boob, and she somehow thinks it's charming. If you go on the text and you say, well, is there anything in this movie that leads me to believe that there is any reason that Billy Madison and this teacher would ever get together? You'd be like, no, logically speaking, this is stupid, and there's nothing in the text that supports that they would ever get together. But of course they're going to get together because it's a comedy, and it's a romantic comedy, and the leads get together. Like, there's no reason textually and logically that they would get together. So I kind of, this is this thing about like R+L=J. There's nothing in the text that supports it. Like, it's actually impossible to happen. But like, at the same time, well, Jon is Jon, and this kind of stories, and the show did it, and that kind of stuff. So you're like, fine. Now, and for the subverting expectations, like if we go with the show, and then there was a subversion of expectations. Like, Jon was not the hero to save the world at all, and his like birthright didn't solve all the problems. It actually created more problems. So it's so yeah, it all works. I mean, the show's answer works. It's just, like I say, like, you get to this point where you're analyzing text, hoping that George R. Martin is consistent and perfect, and he's not. Like, as we've been finding out, like, over the years, like, he contradicts himself all the time, and he does stuff. Characters do illogical stuff all the time. So, what I think is an interesting story is like, that Jon was somebody else, and Dany is a bastard, and all sorts of stuff. But I think people got really I also just, people got really obsessed with the parents thing, the as if it made that much of a difference, and in the end it didn't. So what do I think of Dojo so far? They're dreadful, horrible, disgusting. People don't talk about Mel date raping Stannis. Can't imagine why. Well, you got to remember like some other like weird stuff that people obsess over all the time. I'm trying to think of like some. I mean, people talk about the Lysa Littlefinger thing all the time. Hello, how goes it?
Because after I say this, I'll go on BRB. I kind of wanted to add to the legend of R+L=J. One of the first major Ice and Fire videos that just blew the fuck up was Comic Book Girl 19's House Targaryen video,
Mm-hmm.
and in that one she talks about, I think it's either House Targaryen or House Stark, and she talks about R+L=J. But she didn't
Yeah.
refer to it as R+L=J. I think that was CinemaSins who referred to it as R+L=J. I think it was. I forgot who started R+L=J.
Well, the thing is, like, you start thinking like Alt-Shift X, like his first video was R+L=J. I mean, his first Ice and Fire video. He did other videos before that on things he was interested in.
Who was this?
Alt-Shift X. And he did an R+L=J video. And it got picked up by like some major news sources. which is the reason his channel exploded and things like this. So like,
Oh yeah, he was on Huffington Post, promoted the hell out of him. In fact, I don't know if you know this. Do you know what my first Ice and Fire Game of Thrones video was?
mm-mm.
Who Jon Snow's mother is.
There
I
it
swear to
is.
God, it was terrible. It was terrible. Absolutely dog shit. But I don't know
Right.
who like started the fact. Not only that though, but you also have to add in the legendary meeting that Dave and Dan had with George R. R. Martin, where George
Mm-hmm.
asks Dave and Dan the question. So that just like entered the mythos of the fandom, and now you have
Right.
R plus
Right.
L equals J being like this whole thing.
What's very funny is that like, you know, you can take this concept like R plus L equals J, and like the amount of like money and careers and things like this that these things launch, like this $1 million obsession, you know, like when you start adding up the salaries of like every year, like, you know, $1 million, like $1 million here, $1 million there, $1 million here, $1 million careers here and there. Because it's been, you know, a decade. But yeah, it was just part of it. The obsession became it went way too far. Like it went way too far. Like people were just so obsessed with it, and it when it didn't, and even the show played it really weird. They made it seem like it was this big deal, and then it wasn't a big deal, and you're like, well, what are you fucking doing? Um, you know.
What people refuse to ask when it comes to making all these theories is, does it make the theory fun, or is just like your fanfic on how it would be super cool? Wouldn't it be cool if like Ned Stark was secretly like this person? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That sucks. Like, which is why like a majority of theories I always think is lame. One example being this kind of new theory about like how Stannis is secretly a fake Aegon supporter. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've heard of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like why. I don't know why it's fun to have Stannis be a completely different person than how we know him. I don't like. This is why I like the Marillion is secretly Littlefinger's creature, because it doesn't really change the story in a drastic way. It's just a fun thing to notice on a second reread.
Sure. Um, yeah, I mean, if Stannis were a secret Aegon supporter, it's just such a jarring like turn. Now, granted, it's not that George doesn't do like huge jarring turns; he does, but it's, you know, if you were writing a Dance with Dragons when it came out, would you have ever thought to have young Griff in the story? You know, like to just be like, you know what this story needs? Another Targaryen out of fucking nowhere.
Did you? I don't know. Have you seen my most recent video where I finally go into the old blurbs? Did you see that video yet?
Yeah.
So when I was doing research for the video, I found like forum postings from 2007 where people are like, "Whoa, he's going really far into this. I hope this doesn't last too long because it sounds like he's he's just adding to the story, and it doesn't seem like we have a direction." And oh, they did not know what they were in for. In 2007, they did not know. I'll have to show you. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, I mean, oh man, it's like finding old Feast for Crows reviews. Um, you know, there we should do a whole video on like old like Feast for Crows reviews, like ones
It'll
that.
have to be where you're on. Hey, by the way, I noticed Ecamm got an update. The super chat's has its own tab now.
Oh, nice.
You didn't notice that?
Um,
You used the thing. You didn't notice it?
well, yeah, I don't update it all the time, so I
Ah.
don't know.
But it would have to be on your Ecamm so the audience can see all these reviews. Because holy shit, man, they did not know. Those poor bastards did not know. Oh man.
Mm-mm. Um. Anyway, but yes, the Mel. How do you feel about Mel now? Now that you know that she's been giving Stannis some Spanish fly.
Someone in my server was trying to say how you're not really reading the next paragraph, which contradicts what you were saying. Do you mind if I read the next paragraph of
Oh,
the powder
sure.
thing?
Mm-hmm.
The carved chest that she had brought across the narrow sea was more than 3/4 empty now, and while Melisandre had the knowledge to make more powders, she lacked many rare ingredients. My spells should suffice. She was stronger at the wall, stronger even than in the shy. Her
Mm-hmm.
every word and gesture was more potent, and she could do things that she had never done before. Such shadows as I bring forth here will be terrible, and no creature of the dark will stand before them.
Mm.
Yeah, so there you go, Max.
Sure. I mean, we again, we don't really know what a shadow is. Like, we don't really know, and the shadows that she's going to bring forth, and she has a good feeling, when you're like, oh, my spells. Like, well, what is a spell? Um, what is it? And what is she feeling? Like, what spell has she done that makes her feel like the wall is better for doing her spells? I mean, it's true, that paragraph exists, sure. But I'm saying, like, making the argument the other way. Like, again, like, if this were, let's say this were the real world, and someone wrote in their diary that, would you think this person had magical powers? And what would make you think that they have magical powers? What logical reason, you'd be like, well, like, if you read that in the real world, you'd be like, well, this person's crazy, or spell doesn't mean spell, it means something else. Um, that would be the answer. But
Ad script here says something interesting. Um, the shadow, the shadow was the only clear implication of magic in that paragraph. Which, okay, so what killed Renly then?
well, a shadow didn't kill Renly. An invisible person killed Renly. But
Hmm.
um, people always forget that. But it's they focus on the shadow, but the shadow didn't kill Renly. An invisible person killed Renly. But
Is this one of your theories, by the way? Like an invisible person? I don't think I've heard you say an
no,
invisible
my
person killed.
my theory is that it's certainly Stannis doing it. Now, if you want to say it's Melisandre allowing Stannis's subconscious, Stannis's, like, warging self, like, so in the Dance with Dragons prologue, we find out that you can warg open air. Like, that's a thing. Um, you don't necessarily need to warg a a a body of any sort. You can exist in open air. And for a second after he dies, we do get this brief moment where he is floating. His consciousness is in open air. The exact line is, where is this? Is it? I thought it was open air. What does he use? He uses. I want to make sure I'm using the right word. It's just. Is it empty air? Whatever the case. Or does someone else use? Or am I conflating something else? Like, what you're able, what when Bloodraven, doesn't Bloodraven tell something to Bran? Doesn't he say he can warg the air? Let's see here. He says, something is there. Something is there. I'm missing it with the exact words. Because he goes beyond, like, beyond the tree. Is it something like that? In time, you will see beyond the trees themselves. But whatever the case, I'm sure someone will inform me later. But yeah, the point is that consciousness can exist in the air, and warging doesn't necessarily need a vessel. And so, that Stannis is somehow, his consciousness is out there in the open air, like doing something.
So an invisible person killed Renly.
Well, no, I mean, I think that invisible person is Stannis' subconscious, like disembodied consciousness. It's Stannis' disembodied consciousness.
Wouldn't that be magic?
Well, as much as yeah, like Bran going into his direwolf is magic, sure.
I was waiting for you to try to somehow link this back to it being sci-fi.
Well, right, it's telepathy. It's telepathy and telekinesis, right? Yeah.
No, I was waiting for you to like. Yeah, I was waiting for you like someone is.
I mean, what is magic, right? Like, yeah, but
someone is wearing a suit that repels light, and therefore he's invisible. I was waiting for something like that.
Right. It's yeah, but it's not something. The idea that it's somehow like Mel doing it, or that the baby is on its own. No, it's Stannis' consciousness. It's Stannis doing it. I'm interested in hearing your take on the state of the world and what happened between Trump and Zelenskyy. I think it's we're in a really, really sad state right now. And I mean, there's just a lot of damage to be done, like damage done here. Like, I kind of do think that the American public will push back, but it's still like no one trusts Trump anymore. Like, the foreign leaders are all like, yeah, we're done with you, which they should be done with him. Like, it's just, they should have been done with him a long time ago. But it's scary and sad to see your country like just completely, like falling apart on every level, because of like some really dumb idiots, like really, really stupid people. I mean, they're gonna try to dismantle Medicaid and Social Security and all this fucking stuff. Not and all people I know losing their jobs and stuff like that. Like, it's just fucking horrible. It's so fucking bad. And what's amazing to me is you'll get these assholes that are like, oh, you've got some sort of like Trump, they'll call it TDS. They believe like Trump derangement syndrome, that like somehow all these liberals that like see all the horrible stuff happening in the world, that it's just their fucking delusion. That like, oh, the people around me losing my job and these weird fucking emails and like the absolute chaos at work and everyone in tears, like, oh, then I'm just fucking imagining that shit, man. I'm just fucking imagining like like this is how fucking like crazy they are. But yeah, there's no fucking coming back from this.
You want to know what's even more infuriating?
Yeah.
To what you just said, you want to know what's even more infuriating to what you just said right now about people saying TDS? There was a guy from New Zealand in the stream chat just now. You might see him in there. I already banned his ass, but he was saying like he's a big Trump supporter and he thinks what Trump is doing now is good for our country. I'm like, dude, you don't even live here.
What a fucking idiot. What a fucking idiot.
You have no idea what's happening.
How? There's like, it's just like in no logical way can it possibly be good for our country to offend all of our allies and support a monstrous dictator murderer like Putin, and sell out like a country that was invaded. Like, it's just fucking like, how, like, what the fuck are you thinking? like there's no, this is the amazing ability of these people to like carry water for like these billionaires is fucking insane. Like it's a fucking insane. Like, it's so, you couldn't write a piece of fiction. Like, you couldn't write a dystopian piece of fiction where the people were this dumb. Right? Like yes, oh God, it's just like,
what's even more crazy.
The fact that people are just like, oh no, Elon, when he wants to cut my Medicare and my Social Security and take all of my money and have these government contracts for himself, and like, and and try to get tax cuts for himself. You know, they're literally putting through a bill through Congress, right? Their bill, which will cut Medicaid, gut Medicaid completely, like to get the money so that they can give people who earn more than $350,000 a year a tax break. And if you earn less than $350,000 a year, your taxes will go up. This is the literal fucking bill that's going forward in our Congress. And you literally have people like carrying water for this shit. Like, these leeches. You're like, but Musk made all his money off of government contracts. Like, he's the fucking leech. He's like the fact that they'll carry fucking water for these billionaires, these fucking just rabid greed billionaires is amazing. What is this? Trump JD Vance acting so offended at Zelenskyy reminded me of when Destiny got offended that girls are mad that he revenge shared explicit videos of them. Well, I mean, I agree that like the Trump Vance like acting thing was so obvious. Like no one could look at that and be like, legitimately be like, oh yeah, they were really offended at this like very confused like Ukrainian guy being like, what are you talking about? As for Destiny, from what I heard, she was sharing explicit videos of him too. So it's kind of weird with Destiny. I don't want to get into Destiny's sex life. Like, it's weird. So like, just remember that Destiny and the people that hang out with Destiny in real life are all fucking weird, and they were all sharing sex videos of each other. So like, I'm not justifying any of that. I'm just saying it's a whole fucking group of people that are sharing sex videos of each other. Like the woman mad at him was, and he was, and just in general, I don't think sharing videos of yourself having sex is something anyone should do. Please try not to do that. Unless you're employed doing that professionally and you've signed contracts, like just don't do it. Carmine, are you on my side here?
Yeah, and to clear up what you were saying, apparently it came out that she was the one doing it first, and I guess he thought it was okay to do it since she was doing it. Again, I think we can all agree that consent really should have been like point and center, and it wasn't.
So with all of these people, yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's like the like a Daniel Green, Naomi King like situation.
Oh,
like, oh my god! It's just like when everybody is being horrible. Can this be?
By the way, I'm glad you mentioned him. Daniel Green, he's back. His numbers are back up. He's
I know.
Like nothing ever happened.
Nothing happened.
Oh man. By the way, real quick before you move on from this super chat, because he was talking about Trump and Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy literally said right before Vance went in on him, Zelenskyy literally said, "Thank you." That was the first thing he said before he opened his mouth.
But it didn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter,
Did you see the guy asking Zelenskyy why he doesn't wear a suit? And Zelenskyy had like the best response. Did you see that?
Oh, it was so fucking good. He's like, after the war is done, I'll get one. Maybe one like yours. Maybe one nicer.
he said I'll put on a costume like yours.
Like Brad, I put on a costume like you, yeah. Zelenskyy's the fucking man. Oh my god. Oh, but I feel for just how just imagine. I just want to imagine like for a moment like how stressed and worried the average Ukrainian citizen is right now. I mean, we're all stressed in this world. And it's amazing, like how much nicer things were under Biden. Like people were giving shit. This is what I was like fucking hate all the fucking trashing Biden shit. Like It was so nice under Biden. It was so fucking nice, wasn't it? Instead of this
That
fucking
guy, someone
daily
just said,
chaos.
that guy who asked Zelenskyy about his suit apparently is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. What the gross.
Yeah, right, because she got divorced and then yeah, her
I honestly,
previous
I will never forgive her for what she did to Aaron's mom. Do you know about this?
No, what happened?
Uh, I will never forget her for eating Aaron's mom in the first episode of Attack on Titan. You watched the first episode.
Oh.
You watched the smiling Titan that eats
Yeah,
Aaron's mom.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
she
I know what
kind of
you're
looks
talking
like that. It's so gross.
about. About the Veil Lords, why would they care who killed Joffrey when crowning Sweet Robin is meant war with the Lannisters? Meant war with the Lannisters anyway. I think there are. This is a fanfic question because there's some questions in the fanfic on why hasn't Elaine revealed herself as Sansa, especially if like the Blackfish arrived and things like that. And you got to remember that like there's all sorts of different people in the Vale. Okay, you know, there's people that really believe in honor, and there's people that believe like murder is bad, and you know, things like that. You just would not want I mean, think about this. Like, had Stannis gotten Sansa, and I mean, wouldn't he be sitting there going, well, you know, she committed a crime. I guess she should die. Right? Like, it wouldn't, at least he would pretend to do that. Like that kind of personality, those kinds of personalities exist. Right? So the Vale is going to be filled with all types of people, and there are going to be people that are like, oh my God, she's guilty of murder. She should be put on trial, like, and be killed or put in prison. Like this is a horrible situation. So you got to remember that, you know, it's, and even if those people don't exist, Sansa in her calculus might fear that those people exist. So she would want to, or Littlefinger would believe that, or maybe Littlefinger in Littlefinger's calculus doesn't believe that, but convinces Sansa that it is, you know, or whatever. There's a lot of different reasons for Elaine keeping her identity. At the end of the day, I just want Elaine to keep her identity, and I'm going to come up with a reason. That's like the Zelenskyy thing. Like, it's like, was Zelenskyy being rude? No. Like, was it rude that Zelenskyy didn't wear a suit? No. Like, did Zelenskyy not say thank you enough? No. But it didn't matter because they were like inventing a reason to get somewhere. Now, you know, my reasoning for Elaine to keep her identity is going to be more logical than Trump and Vance, but the end game is it's much more interesting that Elaine stay Elaine, because Elaine is, if she gets legitimized, is the heir to Harrenhal, you know. So that's the important thing. Europeans love burning books and knowledge. I mean, Alexandria is in Africa, man, you know. Winterfell Library was destroyed. That's true. That is true. A very sad day. If Courtney Penrose was an inside job and Baby Dimmer 2 was fake, what would be the point of Davos smuggling Mel into Storm's End just to give him a scare? Yeah. I mean, I think Mel has a plan with Davos and like the manipulation of Davos. You know, she seems very obsessed with that. But yeah, like, what's the point, you know, to make Davos think that she has all this power? Because Davos is the one that like influences Stannis. Like, if if Davos thinks Mel is powerful, and he's telling all of this to Stannis, then Stannis is going to think she's powerful. But yeah, I mean, but even if you go the other way doesn't make any sense. By the way, say like Mel really can birth shadow babies, right? She couldn't have told Stannis because Stannis doesn't believe that he had anything to do with Renly's death. Like, he doesn't think the shadow baby happened. So he only just kind of believes that like Melisandre saw Courtney Penrose die in her flames, and like that's the end of it. So then we just kind of need like, how is her permission? Like, how did she even get permission to get a boat to get Davos to go into Storm's End? Did she do that on her own? That kind of stuff. It's that's the thing. If it is a big con, right? She told Stannis, like, I saw it on my flames that Courtney Penrose is gonna die. Now she's got to like look like she's doing some sort of action, and so she's trying to convince Davos. But I'm trying to think like the other way. Like, does she know like her shadow baby would climb up to what floor? And I guess Stannis knows the geography of the tower and everything, but I don't know how she got permission to get to take Davos and the rowboat or the small skiff to leave. I don't know how that happened. I have to think that through, if George even thought about that. Beep it down, beep it down. Better question: if Zelenskyy tough with Trump, was it worth it? There was nothing. There was zero things that Zelenskyy could have said that would have changed the end game here. Okay, he could have gotten on his knees and been like, "I'm so sorry," and worn a suit and all of this. There's zero that Zelenskyy could have done to Trump had already decided that he was selling him out. There's nothing that could have done. Okay. Bernie will fix it. If only Bernie were younger. Don't lose hope. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad right now. It's pretty sad when I see everything where I am and everything falling apart. Oh my God. No. No. This is funny. Okay. Do you think the Stinky Steward, ship Tyrion rides with Makaro, is the perfumed seneschal? I feel like Makaro giving too many similes. It has to matter. I mean, obviously we're supposed to think these sorts of things. You know, I'm but at the same time, the whole thing with prophecy and everything is that you can kind of make something general and then everything kind of fits, right? Let's see, the stinky steward. I think he I mean, so this the perfume seneschal is of course the Quaithe message, like beware the perfume seneschal. Do I think it's the perfume seneschal? I don't. I mean, now I'm just got to step back and be like, well, why is Quaithe being cryptic? Like, what's the point of Quaithe being cryptic to Dany? Like, what's literally the point? Like, did she see a vision with a perfume seneschal in it, and she's like, beware the perfume seneschal? Like, the only reason to be cryptic is the hope that Dany just distrusts everybody, and that like that's Quaithe's plan. That to give some really general, because if she really like, why doesn't she just be like, hey, Victorian Greyjoy, don't trust him. Do not trust Tyrion Lannister. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Quaithe? Like, what's the fucking point of showing your vision in a mysterious way that allows for misinterpretation? Unless misinterpretation is the point. Like, the whole point is so that Dany can go crazy and think about things in multiple ways and be like, oh my gosh, Resnek is the perfume seneschal. Oh my gosh, this guy's the perfume seneschal. This is the sun's son, and all this kind of stuff. Like, I shouldn't trust any of them because Quaithe doesn't want her to marry anybody, and she wants her to jump on her dragon and escape, right? So if I were to really like analyze it logically, I'd be like, no one is the perfume seneschal. Like, she just fucking said perfume seneschal and a bunch of other people that vaguely fit a lot of people to make Dany mistrust everybody, so she'll jump on Drogon's back and get the fuck out of Meereen because that's what Quaithe wants. Because why else? Like, this is the funny thing about like visions. When people went to like the Oracle of Delphi and stuff like that, and they thought about like the future. Like, who was making these visions? Are they just visions for vision's sake? As if metaphorical, constructs of the future exist independent of a higher being's crafting, or a puppeteer's crafting. And it's amazing how people don't think about that next step. Like, why on earth would the future be represented in metaphorical ambiguities? Like, what's the point? Like, why? Like, oh, I can see the future, but it's only in the form of like a goat and 7 seals and a man riding a horse with a sword. Like, just so everything can fit, so that you can like have doubt. So I would say that like Quaithe has to be trying to put doubt in Dany's head. You know, the only other answer is that someone who sent Quaithe visions wants to put doubt in Quaithe's head or Dany's head or something. Like, you know, it's the only point of that. What's funny is when we get to the fanfic with the chapter, which is coming pretty soon, of Dany going to Qarth, we have to like address all this, like her talking to Quaithe and like, you know, coming up with like who Quaithe is and what Quaithe wants and all of this kind of stuff. It's going to be a really hard chapter because it's a lot in there. But yeah, I think What's funny though is that the stinky Dany never hears about these ship names, so it would be pointless. Like, why would Quaithe be telling her about the stinky steward, the Celsori Quran? Like, why? What's the point if Dany's never going to meet these people? So um. Mm, mm, mm. Let's see here. It's so funny the New Zealander. New Zealanders, for the most part, pretty liberal.
You probably found the only guy who's a
No.
Trump supporter in the entire country who just happens to be a fan of yours.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's the guy. I'm sure that guy that killed all the people at Christchurch would be a Trump fan.
100%.
Yeah. Billy is super rich. She sees he's good with kids and beats West Wing at corporate Olympics. Befriends Sniper. Good to his mates and Adam Chandler. Oh, we're talking about Billy Madison here. Billy is super rich. Yes. He's good with kids. And he beats the corporate people at the Olympics. He befriends the Sniper. Good with the team. Adam Sandler charm. I mean, she gets together with him before he beats the West Wing guy at the corporate Olympics. But by the way, that performance by Bradley Whitford, man, Bradley Whitford. I would just say that, if you've ever seen anything that Bradley Whitford is in, he plays a different character every fucking time. He was in a short-lived series with Tom Hanks's son, where he plays this weird mustache wielding guy from the 70s who still drives muscle cars. And he was man, the guy's a really fucking good actor. And the fact that he his role in Billy Madison is fucking brilliant. Man. But yeah. But no, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying. See, the other thing is in this world, where are the other attractive men? See, the only reason that Adam Sandler looks really good in the story, and I admit, okay, Adam Sandler's rich, fine. There's one thing. He's got all this money. And she earns she has a teacher's salary. But but where are all the other attractive people in this world? The only reason Billy Madison looks great is that all the other normal attractive people are gone from the picture. I had a friend who lived in Copenhagen, and I went to visit him, and I'm walking around Copenhagen, and it's summer, and it's summer in Copenhagen, and everybody, all the Danish ladies are out on their bicycles with their flowing blonde hair, and they're just so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the women are so beautiful here. It must be incredible. And he's like, no, dude, have you seen the men here too? I'm a troll compared to them. There's no way I'm getting into with any of these people. And I was like, oh, fair enough. So where's the competition? Where are the other men? There's no way. I get that Billy Madison is rich, but come on. She's a model. She's a model. I'm just reading some random stuff Walking Dead. There's dangers in the Walking Dead fandom. Stuff. Have you heard this about the Walking Dead fandom, Carmine?
I tend to stay away from those guys. Kind of weird.
I can't, Walking Dead just kind of seems redundant at this point. Like, it's been so many seasons and so many shows. I can't believe R+L equals J because I thought it when Robert and Ned visited her statue on first read. He's the only one looking for a mom. I'm like, mega R+L equals J. The thing is, it is so obvious. Like the minute you start thinking, because you're like, okay, Jon is missing a mother, and then we find out that there's a woman who has a baby later on because we get bed of blood, right? And then you're just like, oh, okay, there it is. Like okay, who's Jon Snow's mother? Well, what characters exist that are women who are around the same age that are in the story that are introduced in a Game of Thrones? Do. I mean, you got Kat, you got Lysa, you got Cersei. Who else is in the book? Like, I mean, it is. It's pretty fucking obvious, but yeah. Yeah, invisible people are magic. I understand. We're talking. Carmine and I separated this this sci-fi magic versus fantasy magic. Sci-fi magic being like focused on sci-fi things, telekinesis, telepathy, time travel. That's like sci-fi magic. Stuff that like does not exist in the real world, never will. There will never be telepathy. There will never be fucking telepathy or telekinesis. And yet, like Babylon 5, there's like a telepathy core, like Star Trek. There's fucking Ensign Deanna Troi. Like she has the ability to telepathically go think thousands of kilometers to an alien ship and know what they're thinking. That's not nope, that's just sci-fi. So sci-fi magic is telepathy, telekinesis, time travel. And then there's fantasy magic, which is just anything that doesn't fit in any fucking box. Anything, you can just fucking do anything you want, With George D&D meeting back when I thought he was asking something trivial and pointless. So if they got it, they're really invested in George approves. Fandom affected how big it became in universe. So yeah, what Sharpness is talking about here is there is this famous story that George was trying to decide whether or not D&D were good enough to be the showrunners. So he asked them an important question, and they got the answer correct, and that proved that they knew the series enough, then they would do it justice, right? And everybody sort of assumes that this question is who's Jon Snow's mother. Sure, probably. But what's really odd about it again is in the end, Jon Snow's heritage meant nothing. It meant nothing. It led to Varys's death. That's it. And for the most part, we're kind of finding out that D&D we're following George's original plot points. Not that George can't change his plot points; he changes them a lot. I mean, a month after writing an outline that said that Catelyn was going to go north of the Wall, he has Catelyn go to King's Landing. That is how George operates. He changes his fucking mind. Months after writing his outline that Victarion is going to die in A Feast for Crows, he doesn't. He fucking keeps living. So everything can change. I get it. Nothing's set in stone. But at one point, it seems like the outline points were communicated to D&D. So yeah. But you're right that the fandom was obsessed, and they they took every little thing that this was going to be so important. It's so important that R+L=J, because Jon, oh my God, the discussions about like the fucking Westeros.org, like the discussions about like what happens when Jon goes to the Isle of Faces. And they're like, oh, well, what will the green men think of Jon? And they're like, well, they'll all know about R+L=J. And therefore the green men will like welcome him and understand that he's like the one that has to fulfill the prophecy. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, what like rabbit hole of navel gazing bullshit have you like gone down? And this is coming from me. All right. This is coming from me. Like what navel gazing like bullshit have you gotten yourself into, thinking about like Jon Snow going to the Isle of Faces and being welcomed by the fucking green men because of R+L=J? Like, what planet are you fucking on? Like, these posts exist, like they go on for months and months, like years. People talked about this shit. Amazing. It's amazing.
By the way, George didn't allude to it. This is from George himself. I'm going to quote him. He goes, I did famously ask them the question, who is Jon Snow's mother? They said they'd read the books. I wanted to see if they really read the books and how much they had paid attention. And George then goes, they knew the answer, which was good.
Yeah.
David Benioff, by the way, he goes, because the person is interviewing David Benioff, and he says, we were weirdly prepared for that question. We had discussed that the day before. We had just started to talk about it. It came up with our theory, which happened to be right.
Yeah.
So if David Benioff and Dan Weiss had it, then like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's funny is I think the first time I read a Game of Thrones, I didn't think about it because there's just a lot of characters going around. And then someone like asked me later, like, oh, who do you think Jon Snow's mother is? And then I'm like, oh, okay. And then I think, it was before I was what even like came up with it. The person's like, because people think it's like Rhaegar and Lyanna. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, you know, this was like definitely like a conversation I had after reading a Game of Thrones. Like I wasn't given the time to actually think about it. Like, who did I originally think was Jon Snow's mother? I didn't have the time to think about it before someone revealed it to me. But then I had planned on doing an R+L=J video, and because after I'd done Dornish Master Plan, after I'd done the Pink Letter Mystery and the Dornish Master Plan, and then everyone's like, you got to do R+L=J, and I was like, okay, and I went in and I just fucking reread, and it just didn't make any fucking sense, because I was gonna like talk about like the visions that Ned gets in the first book and Bloodraven, and it just didn't fucking make any sense. Like Ned is ready to leave King's Landing, and then he has the Tower of Joy vision, and he decides to stay. And you're like, in what universe would you have that dream and then decide to stay? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If that vision is all about the Tower of Joy and is all about Jon, shouldn't you immediately want to leave too? Like, why would you want to stay? So yeah, I don't know if George was really thought it through either, though. Will Bran be forced to leave the cave with Bloodraven like in the show, and why does he leave in the book? I think a similar threat. I think that the show probably had like George's plan that somehow the something allows the others through, or the others and the whites through, and that Bran has to run away from them and get out the back door. You know, most of the elements that we see in the show have been established in the book. There is a back door. There is the sinkhole with a back door. That exists. There are whites surrounding the cave. That exists. They talk about a ward being on the cave. Well, that exists. You know, like, so all of that's there. The question is like, what's going to break the ward? In the show, they did some sort of weird dream and touching and stuff like that. I have a different idea for what I want to do in the fanfic. But I don't want to give it away too much. It's fucking good. It's fucking good. I've planted the seeds. If you guys think of like, if you know, I've planted the seeds, but it's more or less Bran is going to be running from the others, just like in the show. And that's how Bran is going to be leaving the cave. I mean, he's going to be going and trying to get out the sinkhole, climbing that wall, you know, and you know, fearing that he's going to fall. But yeah, it's all there. But I'm very excited about Bran 2. I think I'm going to have him. I mean, people are like, wait, you're going to have him escape in Bran 2? I think it's going to be in Bran 2. But you got to keep the story moving. But yeah, I've got a good plan for it. Got a good plan for Bran 2. Carmine, have I told you about it?
No, you have not.
Okay, I'm going to send you what I'm going to have. Okay.
I see your thing, like, says you're typing.
I know. That's what's gonna happen.
What the fuck? What is this?
Yeah, no, because I set up that. Do you remember?
This is gonna happen in Bran 2?
Yeah.
Nah, what?
Remember this gets into. I'll give people a little hint there. I've established some stuff with Jaqen H'ghar, and I have a Jaqen H'ghar theory. If you guys remember my Jaqen H'ghar theory on why Jaqen H'ghar is in the black cells, you know, so that gives away a lot. But there's going to be some fun stuff. What's Lady Stoneheart's endgame in the story? Well, obviously, Lady Stoneheart is going to get some fucking stabby stab from Brienne. I mean, we kind of know that is happening. That at some point, if we're establishing that Brienne is in a similar predicament as Jaime, that their stories are similar in that Brienne made a vow to Catelyn, and Jaime made a vow to Aerys. And then they are both asked to do the unthinkable. And you realize you can't just phone in your morality. You can't just say, I follow this. Scroll to the bottom, click, I accept. You know, like that you have to, like, your morality is something that you come up with on your own, and it's a very difficult process. And Jaime does that when he stabs Aerys. And so we kind of know that Brienne has got to do the same fucking thing. Okay, like Brienne's got to fucking stab Lady Stoneheart. But there's the question of whether Lady Stoneheart is going to die after that or not. Probably not, considering that every time you stab a white, they don't seem to die. So I think I don't know what Lady Stoneheart does after that. Like, yeah, I kind of know that, like, okay, I know where Brienne's story's got to go. There's certain plot points that have to happen. Like, Brienne has to kill Zolo the Fat. Like, you know, she's got to do that at some point. Like, I know that, but like she's got to stab Lady Stoneheart. But what happens when Lady Stoneheart comes back? I don't know. I haven't really come up with, like, I don't know. But yeah. Preston is too light on this. We're fucked. Yeah, it's true. Time for Europe to lead. It's true. It's true. All of this is true. This is all true. This one Mel chapter in Dance illuminated so much. It is true, and what I think is so funny about the Mel chapter, and keep in mind, I love is that Mel and John Con are products of George having writer's block and not knowing what the fuck to do, and to try to get out of his writer's block, he just creates a point of view. And I fucking love John Con. John Con's fucking incredible. And I'm so happy John Con was created. And I'm really happy the Melisandre chapter is there. I think it's one of the best chapters in the story. And I think the Barristan point of view is great. The story picks up immediately, and it's so exciting once Barristan is like a fucking character. It makes you just want to be like, well, let's just not have Dany anymore. Let's just have Barristan. Or let's not have Jon Snow. Let's just have Mel. That sort of stuff. They're great characters. And I think at least in the fanfic, Melisandre is going to take over for the point of view at the Wall for a while. So it's going to be exciting. So I think, but what's great is that it was an accident. It was an accident, That's the amazing thing. That shadow babies are actually Mr. Meeksies. I hadn't thought about that. Meeseeks, I'm sorry. Mr. Meeseeks. Do you know from Rick and Morty? Carmine? Oh, fuck.
Yes. No, I'm here, yeah. Yeah, they complete their task and they disappear completely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. Idiocracy. I wish the world was in as good a shape as Idiocracy. The unfortunate thing is that our world is actually worse than Idiocracy, because what happens in Idiocracy is that a smart not even a smart person, but an average person comes, the smartest person in the world comes, and they all are like, oh, you're so smart. Yeah, let's listen to you. And we don't have that in America. In America, we have we have this disdain for real academics. So much of America doesn't trust academics and scientists, the real smart people. And instead they embrace weird conspiracy theorist, podcaster types, the Joe Rogans, the RFKs, the Elon Musks, who have these ideas that are not novel, but they all think they're fucking novel. Elon Musk went on fucking Joe Rogan and told everyone that there's this idea that's been going around for forever, that I've heard forever, that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, which is the dumbest fucking thing. Now I've worked for Social Security, so I know a lot about Social Security. So it's not a Ponzi scheme. That's not by definition what a fucking Ponzi scheme is. It is not in any way what a Ponzi scheme is. So it's so fucking weird. A Ponzi scheme, is, by the way, the chain letter is the classic one. Send this letter out with 10 people, give $1 to each person at the top of the list, and then send it to 10 more. And it's based on the idea of the fallacy of there's always a bigger fool out there, and then that somehow the system will work. But eventually the system will get to the point where, at the bottom, there's no one left to send stuff out, and it's supporting all of this overhead, and the whole thing collapses when people start leaving. Now, Social Security is not that, because one, the shape doesn't resemble that at all. But also, you're required to be in Social Security. So you can't leave. You can't suddenly be like, this system sucks, and bail, and the whole thing falls like a house of cards. No, because by law, you're part of Social Security. So it's not a Ponzi scheme. Like, that's not how a Ponzi scheme works at all. Like, it's so fucking dumb. Like, Elon Musk is so fucking dumb. Like, it's amazing how fucking stupid he is. Like, you just have to have critical thinking for honestly 2 minutes. Like, well, what is a Ponzi scheme? How is this like a Ponzi scheme? And how is it not like a Ponzi scheme? Let's do that analysis. Whole thing falls apart. So fucking dumb. Do you think the relationship between Roose and Lord Redford will come up again in the North Vale Alliance? Vale backs Boltons instead of supporting Starks. I don't think it's going to come up again. And I don't think it's going to come up for a number of reasons. Just there's not enough time for these parties to come together in the story. Like, let's say I'm even wrong. And, you know, when Sansa says we're getting everybody to go to the north, and they go straight to the north like they did in the show. Let's say that all happens. Roose is going to be dead by then, you know, and it's, you know, and then he has no reason to back Ramsay, you know, so we're all pretty sure that Roose is dying. You know, it's just, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the show did it obviously, but like, it just also just makes a lot of sense for Roose to die when we look at the forces that are there and who's going to take control of them. The Manderleys and the Freys were sent out, who were the only forces that were like, well, the Freys were the only forces that are absolutely 100% loyal to Roose and Roose alone. You know, everybody else is like, they're obligated to follow the Boltons as like their liege lord. So everybody else has loyalty to the Boltons. The Freys were the only ones that were loyal to Roose because he was married to Fat Walda. And so, you know, they're gone. So it does look like Ramsay's going to have control of the situation. So I think Roose has his, you know, his days are numbered, and I just don't see the Vale forces really getting there fast enough. I just don't know how they can march that fast. I mean, you know, they're like, it would take them 4 months to probably get to Winterfell. I mean, maybe if they took boats, they immediately take boats and they go right up to White Harbor. They can get there faster. But man, I mean, that's a lot of convincing that Elaine has to do in that situation. So I don't know. You Americans need to feel consequences of your choices. This is my problem, is that Americans forget so fast. Like we get punched in the gut. Like it was pretty apparent, like the first time that Trump was elected, that America suffered pretty bad. And yet somehow everybody forgets. You know, they forgot how like horrible George W. Bush was. You know, they just forgot. They forgot how bad it was. You know, I wish Americans didn't have this fucking goldfish memory. I just don't have any faith in them. Or they'll just lie to themselves, you know, somehow blame all this, you know, somehow like, you know, everything is Biden's fault, despite like everything being great under Biden. Yeah. House of Shiba dog squeezing a big red heart. That's a meme? Yes, I imagine. But thank you. I think this is I think sometimes when people put emojis in, they get written out for me. So I think that's probably it. You know. It's probably, you know, something like, am I gonna try to get these. Yeah, probably something like this, you know? But thank you. Poor, dumb, and bitter. Half of America is on some sort of welfare, so they'll learn quickly. And that's the thing, is they will, and then they'll forget. You know, like this losing their Medicaid or losing for these, you know, to give stuff to billionaires. It's just somehow they forget, and somehow like the next election cycle will be fucking back again. How did they fucking forget? How'd they fucking forget how bad it was the first time? You know, like we kicked Trump out of office and then somehow forgot. Like, it's just so weird.
I can tell you why. I sent you a video on Facebook. If you want to play, you've played this video before years ago.
Yeah.
If you want to play the video again, it's fucking hilarious. But I have a friend of mine. I've mentioned him before, Brandon, the Mexican guy, half white, half Mexican guy. He firmly believes. I'm not kidding. I will show you the screenshots of our conversation where he said this. He firmly believes that Trump is not in office to enrich himself. Why would he do that? He's already rich. He firmly believes that Trump is here to make things better. He's a smart guy.
Why does a man want 2 bags of gold when he has one? Right. This incredibly stupid kind of thing. Yeah.
It's that video. Give it a shot later, unless you want to play it on stream. It's literally encompasses everything you're talking about. That's the delusion of these people.
It's Americans are. I mean, the whole world's got a little stupid in them, but like Americans are really dumb these days. It's really quite amazing. Any theories on who the Dusky woman is? I think the only idea that people have is that she's a servant of Euron's in some way. You know, like she was Euron's woman. And so she, you know, he just kind of like passes her on as somebody that's watching Victarion. But I can't think of anybody else that she would be important, you know. It's not very clear where she's from. She doesn't seem to have any special magical powers, you know. She's just she kind of exists for someone for Victarion to talk at, and to be abused by, to get it so we get to know Victarion. But I don't think there's anything beyond that. I mean, yes, it'd be really fun if she were really the old theory that it's Euron glamoured was a great one. But yeah, I don't know. Carmine's not too into theories, was funny enough, but I don't think he would have any ideas on Dusky Woman either. Any fun stuff? Dusky Woman's Quaithe. Dusky Woman is Quaithe.
No. I don't think the only theory I've ever really heard about Dusky Woman is that she's actually Euron.
Yeah.
That's the only theory I've ever heard about Dusky Woman. Is that anything else is just her being Quaithe? That's new. I've never heard that one
she's
before.
Actually poisoning Victarion, and that Victarion's not actually he's not actually dying from the hand wound from Sari, but she's the one poisoning him. There's little things like that. Okay,
that's cool. I like that one.
You know, but I don't think there's anything special other than the fact that she might be a servant of Euron. Otherwise, it would be very, very lucky. Like, say she's somebody else. Say she's a faceless man. Say she's Nathi and she works for some like conspiracy of Nath, you know. Say she's part of like a death cult, you know. Say she's part of the ancient guild of spicers. Okay, she's part of the Tourmaline Brotherhood. Any of these things. Okay, so she gets into Euron's good graces. How does she convince Euron to pass her off to Victarion when she doesn't even talk? You know, or does she talk to Euron? and then she just pretends not to talk to Victarion. Like, what conversation happened that she got transferred over, and she got Euron to trust her? And what scheme does she have to whatever steal a dragon or whatever? That's the thing is the off-page conversation she had to somehow convince Euron that she wanted to watch Victarion.
The Dusky woman being a faceless man assassin to kill who? Daenerys?
To get a dragon for their death cult. You know, there's a belief that like actually they want to like kill everybody. And they want to, the faceless men want to get dragons so they can kill the world or something. You know, like they caused the doom of Valyria, now they want to cause a bigger doom or something. That kind of thing. You know, it's like, well, how goes it?
Hello. How are you doing, Preston?
Let me get a window for you.
Let me try to turn on a light too. It's really dark in here.
Yeah, you're
Trey, where have you been? I've been hitting you up.
I was in Arizona. I was on a research trip for the past like week.
Hey, did you see the pictures I have of you?
What? Oh yeah. I saw those. Were you like photoshopped?
Preston, can I send these to you?
Outfit?
Sure.
I got you.
I didn't even notice me in the background. That's how good you edited me in.
Hey man, you know, my Photoshop skills have improved over the years.
Oh, what? Okay, I called in. What do you mean the Battle of Winterfell was George's idea? What do you mean that the others being defeated at Winterfell was his idea? That is stupid. That's stupid.
Oh, look. This it comes from the blurb. Look, I don't want to have the Battle of Winterfell be where the others are defeated. But it's in the Feast for Crows blurb, right? Or in the Winds of Winter blurb.
Yeah,
Carmine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn it, George. That's so stupid. They're defeated like a week's ride from the wall itself. Or how far is Winterfell from the wall? It's like a month.
3 weeks.
Like a month?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay.
It's a wall to fell. Do you remember the wall to fell? Yes. It's 3 weeks. 3 week ride. But yeah, it's just they get nowhere. What's the actual? Oh, fuck. What was the? Send me the blurb again, Carmine.
I got you. I don't know if I came to this conclusion with you or it's something I just came to the conclusion myself, but some of the blurb itself is bullshit, or it's just like an intern at Amazon or someone at the publishing side hyping things up, like Bran becoming a magician. And some of it sounds like it actually could be legit George's ideas, like the Ironborn attacking the Dreadfort. Like that sounds like an actual thing. So let me get it for you. 1 second.
So this is the photo of you at the Red Wedding, where I was like, oh my God, how were you at the Red Wedding? What is this? Were you in on it?
that's me not looking suspicious. That's me blending in. I know the plans. I know the Big Walder plans or whatever.
I don't know how you got that close to what's
the other ones. I'm all the other ones. I'm very proud of these.
To Lisa, you're Jane Westerling, right?
You're
a honeypot. This is you're seducing Robb Stark for some sort of master Tywin scheme. Nope. You really are just a nice girl from Volantis. Poor Talisa. Yeah, no,
that's so. I didn't see that one, Carmine. That's really funny. I saw the ones where you edited me into like Daenerys's Nazi speech or whatever. Where she's like, "I'm gonna break the wheel," and it's like me in like the little background.
There was this guy Kai that I knew, and he took like a very like a very. It's just it was the picture that he took one time when he went to this bar with these people. These people took a picture, and he was there, but kind of just in the background like that. Right? And I thought it would be fucking hilarious to grab Kai and put him in the background throughout history. Like he was there at the signing of the
I mean,
Declaration.
the thing is, you're like Forrest Gump here, right? Or
yeah, I was just Forrest Gumping Kai, like in the back, like, signing Declaration of Independence, Hitler taking France, like just random places. He was there at 9/11, and I'm like,
on this one, Trey, why weren't you like, hey Ned, why didn't you take 10 more minutes to talk to him? Just like 10, just give him 10. Give him 10, honestly, 10 minutes. I know look, this was a multi-day ride out here and all, but like, and you guys are anxious to get on your horses back, but 10 minutes. Like, come on.
Trey's the guy
Theon was kicking me the head. I was the one he was passing the head to. He kicked it to me. It was juggling it. Like, bounced it on my head. We like, okay.
I thought it was annoying you by photoshopping you all this random
no,
shit.
it was funny. I loved it. It was really funny, Carmine.
This is the one of you at the wedding.
That's me at the red wedding, or sorry, not the red. That's at the purple wedding. Yeah, that's me. That's me noticing Olena put the poison in.
You were smart enough to wear a hat. It was very sunny there, I admit. This one though, the next one, I don't know. Like, I don't think you're very well dressed here. I think you're probably a little cold.
That one's like a Where's Waldo? Could you see him?
Kind of wearing like a Dothraki vest, a little Dothraki sleeveless vest.
You were the Dothraki of all like suited up.
I'm like Arya. You know, like how Arya's just hanging out in the background in that scene. She's like, "Oh, I've seen a killer."
Because I own a fucking
Doesn't
beer.
she say that? Doesn't she say that? She says,
yeah.
like, I know a killer when I see one or something like that. It's like, yeah, no shit. She owns a dragon. Man, what a fun time, season
8. Wouldn't Manus be a little incredulous when he has 2 dreams 2 nights in a row, performing actions that end up happening in reality with his witch? Do they happen like right after each other? But I mean, regardless, like, I'm trying to think like when Courtney Penrose.
Let me send this to you as well. I recently did a video on it, the blurbs and where they came from. And the basic conclusion is that some of these are legitimate, and some of it like was George's. Some of these were George's original ideas, like the Ironborn attack and the Dreadfort, which made it into the show. And some were just like an intern at Amazon, just like trying to hype up the whole thing. Let me send this to you. Where are you on? Let's see on Discord.
Let me see. Let me see. Oh, yes. Yeah, because I was curious where these come from. Like, because, yeah, George, you're right that, like, George disowned them, but then, like, they have details that are totally, like, season 8 stuff.
So, again, I gotta give a shout out to the guy who wrote the Reddit post, because he found, like, George confirmed it came from him, but it was old ideas on July 3rd, 2002. And then 19 days later, he said, I don't know where they get the stuff from. So in the same month, and a couple weeks later, he said, I don't know, well, clearly they're getting it from you. Like, some of it I think is bullshit, like the magician, Bran becoming a magician. Like, I think it's just some intern trying to hype it up, you know?
Yeah.
Sansa becomes a skill player in the Game of Thrones with Littlefinger as her mentor. Like, okay, like, after reading Storm of Swords, like, some of this stuff, like, okay, I can kind of understand where this is coming from. But some of it is way too detailed to just be some random intern. Like, again, Iron Man attacking the Dreadfort, Starfell, Barristan, the secrets of her father at Starfell. Like, some of this is
it's far too specific. Yeah.
So it's far too specific. So what I'm assuming happened is George sent in some of the first few chapters and some of his ideas, and I'm assuming some of this happened within the first few chapters, and then he just changed his mind.
Yeah.
So whatever George's original draft for A Feast for Crows was, like original before we saw the real originals, it had to do with like Barristan and Starfall and the Ironborn.
Starfell? You mean Starfell?
Of course.
Because of the typo. But speaking of timelines, so there is probably like at least a month between Shadow Baby 1 and Shadow Baby 2. because we know that Penrose like has a fortnight to think about Stannis's offer. So at least that's 2 weeks. And so like when they actually meet with Penrose is, you know, a little hazy, but they have to like hear of Renly dying and all these sorts of things, the news making it to different places. I think, you know, so it seems like there's a month, but nonetheless, it is like Stannis should be a little weirded out that he would has 2 dreams, like one of killing Renly. He should have a second dream of killing Courtney Penrose, and he never speaks of Courtney Penrose's dream. And I understand that like we're very heavily supposed to think that the Shadow Baby killed Courtney Penrose, and that like people in the kingdom thinking that some random dude like threw him out a window is ridiculous. But maybe it really was a random dude throwing him out a window, like or Elwood Meadows or whatever. Well, one, you know, like, because why didn't he use a sword like when he cut open Renly's neck? Why does he throw him out a window? Like using a different method. So yeah, I mean, Shadow Baby 2 might be fake. I'm just saying, Shadow Baby 2 might be fake.
Well, doesn't Mel bring up like I probably missed earlier in the stream when you talked about this, like Davos's finger bones, like she has them now?
She mentions the bag of finger bones as something that she can use to glamour, which is really fucking random, right? Like, why would you mention like how many bags of finger bones are there in the fucking world? Like, I mean, maybe Jaime Lannister's finger bones are in a bag. I don't know, but like, let's say 2. But like, it's just so random that she brings it up. So everyone's like, oh, maybe. But how did she get a hold of them? Someone sent me something saying, okay, maybe she swapped out the bones and the bag was empty. And so Davos going into the battle is feeling the bag, but he doesn't actually have the bones in there. But she definitely says like bag of finger bones. Like, did she rebag them? But then the bag isn't Davos's anymore. So did she swap out the bag of finger bones with a different bag of finger bones? And it's not his fingers, but it's somebody else's fingers. And the sacks look the same. It's just trying to...
Maybe did Davos lose them? Does he not have them on the rock when he does not stranded? Have them on the rock.
So he
because I was like, okay, maybe
he at least feels the bag on the way into battle, and then he loses them underwater, probably, and he doesn't have them on the rock. And that's the last time we see those bones. So
it would have been perfect, like Salador Sand gave it to her or something like that when they saved Davos or something. But that doesn't work.
Look what I found floating in the water. So of course Salador Sand has that accent. These bag of finger bones.
Like, because maybe Shadow Baby 2 was Davos's actually or something. I don't know. I don't know Shadow Baby's work.
Well, Shadow Baby 1, Davos is asleep during the period. So the whole thing's kind of weird because like, how does I'm trying to like put it out. Let's assume the Shadow Baby is real.
Yeah.
So that night, Mel is like, okay, good night, Stannis. And he's like, good night. And he goes to sleep on his own. And she's like, okay, he's asleep. Let's do my do. Okay, now let's. Then she goes to Davos. She's like, Davos, I need your help. I need you to take me into the Storm's End. And he's like, what, you know about the tides and everything? Like, you figured out the tide stuff? Because that's a coincidence that, you know, the tides were working out when Stannis happened to be asleep, and you knew about that. And she's like, yeah, totally. And I totally know that you're a smuggler and you know how to get into Storm's End, and that there's going to be some metal bars down there. How do you know that? I just know it. Okay. fine, Mel. I'll take, even though I had plans tonight. I was supposed to go dicing and maybe get a hooker later, but like I'm gonna instead take you in a rowboat underneath Storm's End for some reason. So they go down to the ships and they're like, hey, ship guys, it's me, Davos. Hey, it's me, Mel. Can we have a skiff? And the dudes are like, really? You want a skiff? Should we wake Stannis? Nope, Stannis is sleeping. Okay, fine, you can have this skiff. Okay, bye. What the fuck? Okay. They go do their things. They go under. She bursts her shadow baby. And she's like, and she's like, okay, let's go back, and then they go back and everyone's like, what were you guys doing? And they're like, nothing. Okay. Like all the people in the docks are like, why did you take a skiff out? Like no reason. And then they go back. Stannis wakes up the next morning and he's like, I had this dream I killed Courtney Penrose. I'll never mention it,
Okay, does Davos think the shadow? Because I know Cat is like the shadow, instantly recognizes that the shadow baby is Stannis. Does Davos do the same thing with Shadow Baby 2? Does he like recognize it as actually Stannis?
He does. He says he does say something. He says he does recognize the shadow.
Oh shoot.
He knew the shadow as he knew the man who'd cast it. He knew that shadow. Oh. By the way, people recognizing everybody's shadow, that's ridiculous. I don't... I remember being in 3rd grade and like the teacher like drew outlines of all of our like shadows and I couldn't even recognize my own shadow. Like,
Yeah.
So... Yeah. Does Stannis have such a recognizable like face, like such a recognizable profile that be like, yep, that's Stannis.
I guess he's got his lantern jaw and he's bald, I guess. So maybe that shadow's just bald. He's like, okay, that's Stannis' shadow.
Bald. Bald shadow. But again, I'm arguing that he's hallucinating. That
okay.
So
because you can get the show continuity in there too, like that. Doesn't Mel say in the show she's like, I have smokes or something that can make people hallucinate shadows or something?
Yes, she does say something. There's a scene between her and Selyse. It's a show only scene. So in the book there's a mention that she has smokes that make people feel fear, and then in the show there's where she has something about a hallucination where that make people see things. Yeah. So we're definitely supposed to have some doubt, but
yeah.
I finally sent an email theory to you from 2 weeks ago. Please read it when you can. Email title: Starfall, the Lemon Tree, and the Glass Flower. Okay.
Oh, the glass flowers involved.
No.
Last story in Thousand Worlds is the last thing he ever did.
No, man. Everybody loved them some I'm totally forgetting his name.
Anonymous.
What is it? Anonymous?
Anonymous? Yeah.
Tomo and Wahlberg.
I just fucking love the name Tomo and Wahlberg, how stupid it sounds.
Tomo and Wahlberg.
God. By the way, before you move on from this, I love this.
Oh yeah,
I love this comment from Max. Who, where is it, Max? The shadow was grinding its teeth. That's how you know it was Stannis.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. That's how it killed Courtney Penrose.
All right, but Winterlord, I will read. I promise you. Was this in the fanfic one? Yes. Oh yes. I got it. Oh yeah, it's right here. Okay. Pete Sampras's wife. Pete Sampras's wife is hot. What do you talk about? Talk about tennis all day. I always wonder about these like relationships. Like what is Serena Williams and like the guy who started Reddit. So they're married, and like, you know, they have such different lives. Like, what do they talk about? They seem like they have a very functional marriage. You know, like, you know, they like they you know, they like met, fell in love, like have kids. Like, I was like, huh. They such different worlds. Like one guy was a computer dude who invented Reddit, and the other woman played tennis her entire fucking life. What do you fucking talk about? But you know,
Oh, that is weird.
and he's
I
like, you
was in a
know,
relationship like where I'm like this was when I was in school, so I took a lot of like science stuff, like genetics or whatever, genetics classes, and then she was taking a lot of like art classes and stuff. So like we had different, yeah, I guess
who
you
is
like
this?
find this was my first like major girlfriend.
Oh, okay. It was not Serena
Yeah.
Williams.
It was not Serena Williams. But yeah, I've been in a relationship where we have like very different.
She dated Drake, Trey, the guy who invented Google, or guy who invented Reddit.
we talked about Game of Thrones or what do you talk? You're right. That's weird. Like where you're like, it's got to be just like something random like that, right? Like you love a show together or something. I don't know. You haven't kind of.
Huh. This is funny. Rhaegar plus Lysa equals Jon. What an incredible fucking story that would be. Like no one knows about like the hidden love affair between like Rhaegar and Lysa. Lysa's young though, right?
Is it possible? Is it? Can you do the geography on it?
I mean, you could do geography on it. I mean, we know that Rhaegar was like stomping around the Riverlands, and when he picked up Lyanna, that he was like in the Riverlands and then like swiped her. So I mean, he could be in the Riverlands and then like stops by Riverrun, and grabs Lysa. I'm trying to Lysa Aaron's. It's
Yeah. When
easier to
does
know.
Lysa marry? When does she marry Jon Aaron?
She marries
Is it
Jon
before the
Aaron
war?
right after the Battle of the Bells. So
Oh,
somewhat early in the war. Though it's not I don't know if it's no, I think they have to consummate it immediately. So they have the Battle of the Bells, and then she marries Jon Aaron in a double marriage. Ned marries Kat and Lysa marries Jon Aaron at the same time.
oh.
So Lysa is let's see. She is about 15 years old, somewhere between 15 and 17 years old when Rhaegar dies. So there's definitely a possibility. You could definitely invent like your Rhaegar Lysa fanfic for their love affair. But have I heard from Hannah? I haven't talked to Hannah. I'm Facebook friends with her, so I see how she's doing in that respect. So, you know, it's like I know that she's been living in Ireland, and I'm trying to, but that's kind of all I know at this point. Let's see. Let me check this. Yeah, but she, you know, she's a refugee. You know, she was a refugee. She moved to Ireland, and she's been living there in Ireland. Been living a good life there. But hopefully, you know, we need Ukraine to win their war for her to be able to return home. could the Heart of Winter been moved to Winterfell Crypts by George R. R. Martin? Cat was to go north to the wall, but that's impossible now. Theon said the Godswood is the heart of the castle, and the snow is centered on Winterfell. I suppose. I mean, anything's possible, but isn't the Heart of Winter supposed to be this like big barrier curtain at the end of the world or something that tells us what's wrong with the world and all of that? Could it be moved to Winterfell? I mean, George changes his mind and he changes the meanings of things. Like I say, like it's very clear that the vision at the House of the Undying that Dany has in A Clash of Kings was originally supposed to be Euron, and it becomes Victarion. And that's pretty obvious, but like, you know, it's you know, could he move the heart of Winter? He could. I don't know, you know, but maybe the Heart of Winter is the friends we made along the way, inside all of us.
Oh God.
Just like the 13 treasures of Ren or whatever for the Pirates of Darkwater. Shadow Baby is a shadow baby. Can't fake that. See, this is the thing. We have no solid proof about the Courtney Penrose like baby. No solid proof. The first one, obviously. But not that it really changes the story. Like, I mean, I understand that it's kind of pointless to even argue that the second one is fake because the first one is so obviously real. Like, does it change anything that the second one is fake? No, but because like, why can't you just do it again and have like this exact same situation? She could, obviously. If she's able to do it once, she's able to do it twice. Or if Stannis is able to do it once, Stannis is able to do it twice. It doesn't matter. But like, I just find it really interesting that like we are given this doubt. We're given this doubt in both the book and the show that Davos really saw a shadow baby, and everybody questioned it in the book at the time. You know, like, how did Courtney Penrose die? Who threw him out the window? And we're all sitting there going, "Ha ha, we know the answer. It's a shadow baby." But what if it was somebody else? Maybe it was Elwood Meadows or whatever. We don't know. But I think it can be faked. Now, I mean, at least Shadow Baby 2. Shadow Baby 1, no, the Shadow Baby 1, like an invisible dude clearly cut open Renly's throat. Like, there's no way of getting around that. Okay? Like,
hey, you know what? You know one magic thing that people don't talk about is that when Carthene magician guy
who
that's
climbs up the
climbing
fire ladder and
the
then
fire
disappears?
ladder, like nobody ever talks about, like, what was that about?
He had a thin wire. And he climbed up the thin wire, and the wire was on fire.
With oil or something, yeah.
I don't know.
How are you doing, by the way? You doing good?
Oh, I mean, I'm personally doing fine, but you know, obviously, I like worry about, you know, I've told you about like, you know, various challenges that I went through in the past months, but you know, and obviously, people around me with work and stuff are really having a tough time, and it's, you know, there's a lot of anxiety and pain that you see, and it's tough, you know, especially when like my, you know, like my son goes to school and he doesn't have that many friends, and like half of his friends might go. Like, that's, you know, all these sorts of things are like sad, and I just worry about the world. Like, I'm anxious about the world. So that sense, I mean, everything in my life, like, I'm doing fine. Like, I live a pretty fucking blessed existence. Like, you know, I just worry about everybody else. Like, I feel, you know, I feel pain about everybody else, and that like gets me down.
Yeah.
That
sucks.
It's, you know, it's hard. It's hard when like every day there's something extremely depressing. that gets thrown on us, and just like
Yeah.
madness, like just the most like. It's one thing if it were like a hurricane where you're just like, oh, well, that's sad, but hurricanes happen. But instead, it's just like it's what's so sad and disgusting is that it's human beings just like doing this for just the most petty, selfish, disgusting reasons.
Yeah.
Harming each other and harming the world for the most disgusting, petty reasons. That's also really hard. It'd be one thing if it was just tragedy, but it's like malicious tragedy, you know.
Yeah.
When I was in graduate school, this is a random story, but when I was in graduate school, a buddy of mine was walking down the street, and some guys drive-by shooting with paintball gun, and they shot my friend in the eye.
Oh.
And he spent a week in the hospital with a detached retina. And they had to blind him because he couldn't. If they didn't, he would move. If they left one eye like open, he would have moved his eye, and that would have caused harm and damage. So they had to keep both eyes bandaged. So he spent a week blind in the hospital, and then he had to have all sorts of surgeries to try to reattach this retina. I've lost touch with him. I mean, I don't know like how the eye is doing now. I'm sure it's like very damaged, but like it's one thing to have like a tragedy, right? Like say he had cancer in his eye or something, or something like that, or
like a
instead
tree
it was just like the most random act of just like callousness, just callous humanity. Like that just makes me like, it just like the thought of it just made me sick. And the thought that like those guys drove off and probably didn't even know like what they did. It's, it was really just like really like that thought like makes me really like, it hurts me a lot. That human beings can be like that. And that's what like makes me most angry about like Trump and his followers, is this the weird callousness of their existence, how they get sometimes joy and happiness out of causing people pain, so that upset. And then having that daily reminder when I open the news, every time I open an app, of
there's
that.
like nothing you can do.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. And it's just like I'm I'm an obsessive, anxious person where it's hard for me to set it aside. Like my wife's just like, well, the world's going to hell. It's fine. I'm just going to go on. I can't do anything about it. She deals with it much better than me, but I'm just like, I like dwell on it. So it's, it's that's the thing. So yeah, just the absolute callousness of it. And there's the delusion and like the celebration of pain and ignorance and things like that. Yeah. Oh, well, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so alien, like you live this number of years on Earth and you think like you understand how humanity works, like, and how humans
like
act.
the people are inherently good. They're inherently kind.
And it's just something that's so alien, like trying to be like, why are you carrying water for billionaires? Why are you believing lies that are so clearly and obviously lies, like so utterly clearly false, like it's so obvious. So it confuses me. It really confuses me. But yeah, that's what world am I like raising my children to be part of? Over King's Landing accidentally ignites wildfire. Chain reaction. Cache is unknown by either Dany or Quentyn. Mad Dany is Cersei Ironborn propaganda for small folk. Also sets up conflict with Jaime. Thoughts? Well, Moses, what you are writing about is kind of what I put in my season 8 fixed video. If you remember the season 8, to please you, Trey, if you remember in the, not specifically to please you, but like, if you remember in that, I had the others make it all the way to King's Landing, and I had the final showdown between the others marching into the city. And so when Dany tries to flame the others, she accidentally ignites the whole city on fire and it explodes. And then she gets blamed for burning the city down. And that's her downfall, even though she was actually trying to stop the others, and that it was a misunderstanding. So it's kind of, what you're kind of having here is like, where I kind of saw the Dany character going, like not being so evil, so obviously evil, but actually it being like, is she evil? Did she do it on purpose? Did she not care? Was she not being careful enough? Like she knew about the wildfire. Why wasn't she careful? She could have done this and this differently. Make it a little more complicated. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not into black and white characters too much. I like all of the nuance to them. So I don't know. Trey, how do you feel about the character of Ramsay? Is he unbelievable? I mean, Ramsay? We just talked about weird alien evilness, but like, is Ramsay like too evil?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, I'm thinking about like Brave Companions, where like they're just like ridiculously evil. Like I think of Rorg and Biter. You're like, wow, why are they this evil?
Right. Like who would get enjoyment out of doing that, and stuff like that.
Oh, is Ramsay too? Yeah, let me think. Ramsay. Like, I'm trying to divorce him from the show Ramsay, because the actor's just too good. I like the thing about Roose.
He definitely grounds him more than Book Ramsay.
Yeah,
like, Book Ramsay is definitely like just meaner and less logical, and just like,
yeah.
Well, Show Ramsay, he's still all of that. He's still pretty evil, but he's like more calculating,
Yeah, and he's like never vulnerable or anything. Like, I guess you see maybe a little hint of it when he's talking to his dad alone in that hall. Like, I sometimes really like that conversation that Theon and Roose have walking back, where Roose is like speculating if the Reek number 1 was like actually the evil one that was like turning Ramsay and like telling him about like his, I don't know, he talks about like his, like Ramsay's childhood, and that the mother maybe was telling him what he deserves and what he's owed and stuff. And then Reek number 1, like, I don't know, and maybe that's why he wants to create another Reek, like he actually misses him or something. There's something there that I do like, that there's some human element to Ramsay. But yeah, it's hidden. It's very hidden under all these layers.
It's Reek 1 master plan.
And Reek 1 is just like so fascinating. Like, it's a guy with like a really rare condition, right? Like, it's a real condition where you just stink all the time. And he just like he's like living hell, like where he doesn't like the way he smells, and he's like trying to cover it up, and he's willing to get whipped and all these things just to cover up the smell. Like, oh, it's
and it's just such a funny situation. Like, oh crap, like we're getting chased, and then does Ramsay kill Reek and then swap their clothes, or does Reek get hit and he's like, well, he's dead already, and swap his clothes? But I think maybe he just kills him and swaps his clothes.
He killed, and it's weird. I'd want to hear, like, we need more of like Ramsay. Like, does Ramsay feel guilty about that? Like, this is his like childhood friend he's known for his entire life, right? Like,
right, but he's just like, kill him. Take his clothes. On.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah.
It is
and
weird.
Why does Ramsay like hanging around with smelly people?
Yeah, I think Ramsay's too ridiculously evil, because you're right. Like, what does he get out, especially the book stuff that he does, like the really crazy cruel stuff he does in the book, like what does he get out of that? What does he get out of the dog stuff? You're like, I don't know.
Isn't he alive when they swap clothes?
I don't see. After
yeah, do they come? Yeah, does Reek die after they swap clothes?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. I think you're right that Sir Roderick, like, he's still alive when Sir Roderick kills him. And Reek was apparently okay with that. Reek number 1 was like okay with getting killed. I will die for you.
I will die for you. I love you, Ramsay. I love you too. My lord, my king, my prince. Like, whatever.
I do like that conversation with Theon and Roose is really good. Like, I think of like where he asks like Theon, like, what did Ramsay tell you about his birth? And Reek says like a very sanitized version of it, where he's like, you were smitten with this woman, and like Roose is like, wow, like as violent as my son is, he's got a singer's heart there, or something like that. I don't know. That's good. That's a very well written scene. I like that dialogue. Dang. I don't know. Roose is just a really interesting character, and I want more of Roose because he's just so freaking weird.
Yeah, it's too bad it's like the one place, even though we have all these POVs, it's the one place, like inside Winterfell is the one place we really need a POV.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things on like why I liked having Quentyn alive is that Quentyn is a POV on the inside of Meereen, and we need a POV on the inside of Meereen. We have all these POVs on the outside of Meereen, but there's some important plot points.
What Skaha's doing, yeah.
Yeah, what Skaha's doing, what are the Brazen Beasts doing, like, you know. Winterfell, like, you know, what is Mance doing? What's Roose and Ramsay doing? How's this political situation playing out? We have no fucking clue. And it's kind of important. And instead we've got 2 POVs out in Stannis' camp. And you know, Davos and Mel and Jon and everybody else floating around. But there's something weird about the Stone Men to me. Do you think that they could be controlled by the Shrouded Lord as parallel to the others, like the Meathouse Man situation? I mean, I think that obviously the Stone Men are supposed to be some sort of parallel thematically to the others, in the same way that the Squishers are, and that you're supposed to look at the Stone Men's situation and draw those parallels. Like, these are like lumbering, stupid men that are like trying to just kill, and that people are actually making offerings. They actually like bring up food and like for them and stuff like that.
I thought the Stonemen, like I never understood the logistics of the Stonemen, like the fact that the Volantines bring food to feed the Stonemen. I'm like, why don't you just execute them all? Just get rid of them all so they don't spread it more.
It's such a weird thing, because it's one thing for us to do this today, or humanity to do this, like the advent of the Catholic Church and the advent of like public charity, you know, and things like this. Or like alms in Islam and stuff like this, like organized charity and stuff like that. It's one thing in like worlds where there's like mercy, but the world of Ice and Fire is so savage. It's so fucking savage. Like Volantis is a place where like there's slaves and everybody getting executed and lashed and forced rape and forced prostitution and forced marriage, and like it's just so vicious. And then there's this point where they're just like, well, yeah, it's just those poor stone men. Let's bring them some food. Just let him die. Let him starve. And then you'll be
especially
done.
in how dangerous Grayscale is. Like Grayscale, like is so easily contractable. Like it's like, get rid of him. Like you'd want to kill him immediately.
Right.
It's a mercy. It's
like,
a mercy.
Why would they be that just like? If floating down the river, it's like they're just jumping onto boats and like threatening like mass breakouts where like hundreds of thousands of people could die.
Right.
Where does this charity come from? Where does this, like, who's the bleeding heart in
The
Volantis?
Triarchs. It's one of the Triarchs. It's one of the Triarchs. He's like hope. He like has like an Obama poster about the Stoneman. He's campaigning on the Stoneman vote. He's like, we will help the Stoneman. We will send them more food. And I always, the logistics of it like never made any sense because the river, right, the Rhoyne is like the major highway of Essos. Like at least it should be.
That too.
All
Like
the
even
all
from
the
a,
trade
like
has to pass through fucking Croyane with all the crazy people
from an
in it.
economics point of view, like they should, because it's a thoroughfare of commerce. They should have like just gone up with their army and executed fucking everybody so that they could have like clear commerce going up and down the fucking river. But instead, it's like every single person has to deal with these like lumbering stone men at Croyane. And the fucking time loop or whatever's going on there. Like, fuck. Like, is that two fucking things? The swirly river time loop. Whatever. For their fucking commerce. Oh, God. Just fucking deal with that shit.
And like also like it's like kind of like weird, unclear how intelligent the Stonemen are because they like are lighting lanterns, right? They're lighting lanterns on the bridge, and so like they're not all stupid. Some of them are like intelligent enough to know how to light a lantern, but the ones that we see are like they're like zombie guys. I don't know.
There's like
always very
stage
confusing.
1 and stage 3, and you'd think like the stage 1 guys would be like, guys, like stop attacking the ships because like that's our food. Man, logistics of Croyane just doesn't fucking make any sense.
We needed that Shrouded Man chapter. That might have explained everything.
I know.
The logistics.
I know. So we're definitely
me.
supposed to think that the Shrouded, like, if there is evidence of a Night King, like a unified like leader of the others, the Shrouded Lord being a parallel is some evidence of that, of there actually being a real Night King in the story.
No, I don't want there to be a Night King.
Like,
I
please,
hate the idea of the Night King. I hate the droid army, the battle droid thing where you kill the brain or whatever.
I
and they
know.
go, hate that so much, and I hated.
See, now I'm also like forgetting my own stuff. Like the Squisher King. I think the Squisher King is that a Preston invention? There's no actual Squisher
No.
King.
The Squisher King's real. I think
the Squisher King is
right?
real.
Yeah, I think Nimble Dick mentions the Squisher King. Let me look this up. Maybe it is a Preston invention. I don't know. Let me check the Squisher King.
No, the Squisher King is real.
King.
Clarence Crabb fought the Squisher King. Okay, so we got the Squisher King, the old Night King, and the Shrouded Lord, all kind of being like the leaders of these monster armies.
Gosh, each day I'm learning more and more that season 8 was actually George's plan, and that more of it is.
By the way, Preston, I love how we've been doing this for so fucking long. We don't even know like if this is something you started or something that's in the material. It all blends together after a while.
Because the Squisher King was a major character in Chad's adventures, and because he had but.
By the way, Trey, have take some solace in the fact that a lot of the other major plot points in season 8 were Dave and Dan's original invention. For example, Jon killing Dany. Dave and Dan said that was them, not George.
Okay.
So,
because I know that we were starting to think that it was actually George's idea with those rough drafts of feast.
I don't think Jon. Does anyone have? I don't think many people have any problems with Jon killing Dany. I think that's like a plot point. That's
homie, you have no idea what you're unearthing here. Like, leave it in the bottle. It's just leave. You can't put the toothpaste back in on this one. Don't even try, please. Oh my! I was saying how, and I was correct about this. I was saying how Alicent was so fucking boring for most of season 2, and holy shit, all the 22-year-olds on Tumblr got very upset with me.
Yeah, don't mess with them. Yeah, don't mess with those. Yeah, the Gen X House of the Hot D fans.
Daenerys' fan base goes back further. It's old and ancient. You don't want to fuck with that.
It's weird. It's weird how certain women, powerful women, get like that worship status. I'm talking like Cher. I'm talking like Celine Dion. You know, Taylor Swift. Like, it's funny how like certain powerful women get that like worship status. Like, oh, we're gonna worship you. And for some reason, Olivia Cook's Alicent is like that. And I don't understand, you know?
She's a girl boss. Yeah, because like nobody does that with Rainey's. Like, I don't really see any like maybe I'm not interacting with it. But yeah, like Rainey's feels like the more like textbook girl boss, like, you know, that they should. But like, you're right that they go to Olivia Cook instead, who's like a enabler. Like, I don't know, she's kind
all
of
over the map. I don't know how to even describe. Like, after season 2, I don't know how to describe Alicent as a character. You know, yeah, you can kill my son. Yeah, we forgot.
Remember, Alicent wasn't upset that she was being pushed over in favor of someone else ruling. She was upset that she couldn't, again, like, be the one in charge to make all these bad decisions that she would later make anyway.
Yeah.
So, and she's moving her family aside. She's basically selling her family out just because she wasn't allowed to rule.
And then flirt with the woman that's gonna kill her son.
Twice.
Yeah. Oof. But yes, there seems to be some sort of parallel of them being controlled, being puppets of a shrouded lord. But whether it probably just exists as a parallel to the others, just to be there, like the Squishers. But you know,
so in your opinion, do you think Stoneman is going to come into the plot for reals, like with John Connington's
I think in the fanfic, we're probably going to deal with them, but I think George probably was done with Stonemen forever, and that the only way it's coming into the plot is the Grey Plague that John Con has. Like that's the only. But I think Stone Men in general are done. Like, no one's going back up to Croyane and all of that. But yeah. But I may deal with them in the fanfic. But I'm trying to think about the Volantis story. There's so many threads that I want to talk about, like those random pirates and stuff that are mentioned by Tyrion going down the Rhine. Now I've got to fucking deal with the charity situation. Oberyn's Lady Nim's mom. Like the Ring City and the Slave Revolt. There's a lot of fucking shit going down for Volantis that have to.
Oh my gosh, are we gonna re-encounter the Widow of the Waterfront, everybody's favorite character?
Yeah, Widow of the Waterfront. Sam. I mean, the Samuel 2 chapter is gonna be chock packed with stuff. Plus, like Sam in Sam 2, so much stuff has to happen in Sam 2. But Sam 2, Sam is also gonna meet fucking Hota and Darkstar briefly. So. That's gonna happen.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know, right? They're gonna have a little. You know how like Sam meets Arya? It's like the same thing, but like they need to have an interaction because they're. How is there not more gay stuff going down at the wall, or is Jon just that unobservant? Jon his main quality was that he is observant. That is the main quality of Jon Snow.
He analyzes everybody, yeah.
Bastards have to be more observant than everyone else. They have to notice things.
I was thinking of this question, like, I don't know, earlier this week or something. I don't know why I was thinking about that, but yeah, I think it was because you were reading the chapter, right? You were doing the Jon chapter. Yeah, not enough gay stuff going at the wall. There's like nobody gay at the wall. Like besides like Satin being a former prostitute, there's no gay characters at the wall. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that they're just heading to Molestown that much that that it doesn't matter. Like, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. It would still happen.
Sure. I mean, just first of all, just in the normal population, like Castle Black's got a few hundred people. Like just in the normal population, there would be, 5% or would be gay, like just regular,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but then you're in an isolated
And maybe even
environment.
more. And maybe
Yeah.
even more because like homosexuality is kind of like illegal in Westeros, so maybe people end up at the wall more at higher concentrations of gay or something. I don't know. You could make up
That's a good
something.
point. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it should definitely be more prevalent, but no one talks about it. No one talks about,
Chet
maybe Gren
and
and Pip are actually gay. We don't hear about Brett, the bear and the
Sir Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike. They don't hate each other because of racism. They hate each other because they dated briefly.
Long distance.
Yeah. It didn't work long distance. So they're like, you didn't answer my letters, Cotter Pike. I can't read.
Davos saw Mel give birth to a shadow that looked like Stannis. Isn't that undeniably magic? No, I mean, I would say that like Davos already knows that something that like evil is happening at some point, right? I'm trying to remember, and this I'm trying to think when Stannis talks about his dream with Davos about Renly and his fucking peach. It's in Davos too. He says, "I dream of it." See, this is the thing: there's no need for second Shadow Baby to be magic, because we've got this fucking quote. This is the peach fucking quote. It goes,
Like tried to bend out of the way.
For a long time the king did not speak. Then very softly he said, "I dream of it sometimes, of Renly dying. A green tent, candles, a woman screaming, and blood." Stannis looked down at his hands. "I was still abed when he died. Your Devon will tell you. He tried to wake me. Dawn was nigh, and my lords were waiting, fretting. I should have been a horse, armored. I knew Renly would attack at break of day. Devon says I thrashed out and cried out, but what does it matter? It was a dream. I was in my tent when Renly died, and when I woke, my hands were clean." And then he says, Davos could feel the phantom fingertips starting to itch. Something is wrong here. I see. Okay, so right there, Davos figures out what's going on, right? He figures out that it was really Stannis that fucking killed, or at least he's suspicious that it's Stannis that actually killed Renly magically. And so when he's already thinking about this, it's already in his head. So if he's given the fear smoke, because Mel has fear smoke, he hallucinates what he's fearing, and he's fearing Stannis magically killing Courtney Penrose in the same way. So I don't think there necessarily needs to be magic for Shadow Baby 2. It can be a hallucination of Davos. But like I say, people are like, what does it matter? We've already established Shadow Baby 1 is there. Well, I don't know. Just Shadow Baby 2 just doesn't, there's just no proof.
Has George ever written anything like the Shadow Baby? Like in other work?
A telekinesis, like severed consciousness, like acting. I mean, I suppose you could argue Night Flyers.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, not quite the same, like she, but
where she's telepathically controlling like objects that are floating to kill people. Yeah, I could see that.
right. So, I mean, kind of. Not quite so on the nose of like, that's an embodiment of his consciousness right there.
Mm.
But that'd be the closest I could think would be Night Flyers. I mean, that's also a book where she animates the dead with her telekinesis. Which I don't know how that's working. You know, she's like firing synapses or something. Like, why? You know, but
yeah.
Preston Dudes, where is your book? There's a story on the book. Okay, I had everything worked out, and then I pushed release on the Amazon and on the Amazon Kindle thing, and then I got an email a few days later that was like, your cover art does not bleed in the right. It does not have the bleed dimensions in the right. Da, 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 da. So I got back from vacation and I had to spend like a couple more hours like resizing pictures to get the exact amount of pixels. You like taking measurements, being like, how many pixels are in a 6:9, like da 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 da, resizing my image, getting it up, pressing again. So I can confidently say in 2 days, there'll be message. There'll be message on my chat, in a couple of days. And then I've got to work on the fucking ebook. Okay. The ebook is a whole nother fucking thing because you have to redo everything. Like all your alignment on the page is different. Your fonts are all different for the ebook. It's atrocious. It's so much time is dedicated to like doing alignment and page layout and everything. But it's man, oh man, it was really frustrating because they have an option where you can order a proof. So I had everything done and I ordered the proof and it comes and I have a physical copy of the book that has a little band over it that says like not for resale. And you're like, all right, everything looks great. Let's do it. Publish. And then it's like, your cover doesn't work. And you're like, how does it work for the proof, but it doesn't work for the fucking printing? It's coming. Hi. Any extra thoughts on Men of Greywater? Men of Greywater Station.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read it, but I remember it fairly well. This is a story in which a moss has taken over an entire planet, and they control all the animals on the planet and all the plant life, and they're attacking the human base there, and they're sending the humans visions, like really bad ideas, and they start arguing amongst themselves, and then the whole station ends up like blowing up, and then at the end the protagonist is probably dead, but there's still a chance, and he's just kind of sitting there on a heap of rubble as like flakes of like moss like come down as a snow or something. It's like very very sad and beautiful, but I suppose that like that snow kind of now reminds me of that snow like Daenerys, the ashes that Dany had, you know, at the end of a Game of Thrones, kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
I will say that
I could see George reusing that. Yeah, because you're right. How it's written, like how the story ends, is kind of very beautifully written. Like where the fungal
very very
spores
sad, beautifully written ending to Men of Greywater Station. That's the thing is like when I say like, and this is what I told George when I met him. I was like, "You're so good at endings." It's like I like, and so many people don't know that. Like, and he's like, "Hopefully, I'll." Said something like, "Hopefully, you'll like the ending I have for Ice and Fire" or something. Something like that. It was something like that. But his short stories have fucking baller endings. It's this fucking best thing about his writing.
Amazing. Yeah, even his bad short stories have good end. Like
Yeah.
like the ending is executed in a very good way. Where you're like, yeah, that's he just knows when to end. Like what to end on. Like it's
Mhm.
very very impressive, and it's a shame he doesn't do more short stories still.
Yeah, I mean that's the funny thing is that his true craft is short stories, and yeah, he's not in the he's in this world that doesn't. I mean, some
He's
of his
he
chapters end well like that, you know. Like if you take Forsaken, for example, as a chapter, as like a story in itself, it's very good, you know.
mm,
Um, but or like Daenerys 10 of Game of Thrones, you know, like you can take that chapter as itself, or Daenerys 13, the dragon hatching chapter, but you know, so um it's a yeah, but it's but it's another one of those prophecies are to cause people to fight amongst themselves, and that's their function. That
yeah,
they're not um warnings to save the world, or you know, or existing for the sake of existing. Like they're bad things. Like visions are nefarious. They're
they
not here to
create
save us.
division, yeah, and
Yeah,
paranoia. It's like because it's similar to Seven Times Never Kill Man with
yeah.
the visions the
Which
proctors
brings me
receive
back to
and
like
stuff.
Quaithe being like, you know, the perfume seneschal. Like, you know, why don't you just fucking say who it is? Why do you have to say perfume
Yeah,
seneschal? Well, because you want her to be fucking paranoid and delusional, right?
yeah.
Um, Thank you, nerdcissist.
Yeah, if that's the interpretation, yeah, is Quaithe working against Daenerys? Like, is Quaithe trying to make Daenerys paranoid?
Right.
Uh,
Or she just wants her out of, at least at minimum, she wants her out of Marine. You know?
or is she trying to give her advice, but she's just really bad at it? Like she was trying to warn her, like honestly, but she was actually messed up and just made her paranoid. That'd be silly. That'd just be silly.
Um, oh, I was just seeing this about Tomo and Wahlberg are actually meant to be Burke and Wills. Um, I mean, I suppose, or and Lewis and Clark or whatever. There's always two explorers, right? It's always two
Yeah,
dudes who decide to travel together. Um,
Tomo and Wahlberg.
the Burke and Willis expeditions. Do they never make it to the? Do they? Is it ill fated? Oh well. Departure from Melbourne, Copper Creek. The man, the days when like all these explorers were going out and they were just rock stars and everyone would read about their adventures. Like they must be in fucking insane, right? Like imagine if
Oh,
like an explorer went out into the cosmos and like came back and could tell us about alien worlds. You'd be like, tell me about these alien worlds, you know?
yeah, yeah. That'd be awesome.
The heart of winter is
There's that.
just a
Hey,
giant penguin.
hey, Preston. I don't know if you remember. There's that one George R. R. Martin story where that's exactly the plot, right? There's like a guy who comes back and he gives like a lecture. It's called Slideshow, right? It's Slideshow.
Oh, right. You're right.
He was a space explorer and he's trying to get space funding, and somebody yells at him and says, we need money for orphans and, and something for schools. Don't waste money on space." And he's like, we need space to be inspired.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was that was a stinker. That was a big stinker.
little George's little stinkers. Um, even his blood smelled wrong. All right, let's see if I
Yeah,
can get in trying to get to the end. Did the others
yeah,
build the
yeah.
wall? Um, I mean, I think that the others. I think that during the time in which the wall is built, society looks significantly different. And I think that it was probably some sort of peace agreement where where it was all built together or something like that. But clearly somebody had some good technology back then. Enough to like build a wall and have something happen that caused uneven seasons and fuck. Have we been getting the uneven seasons? Like George, there's no explanation. Game of Thrones ended. No explanation for uneven seasons. No fucking explanation.
For all we know, the seasons are still fucked up. That's like they never clarified. Yeah.
And so and the fucking time travels. It's fucking still going on. That's why I liked it. It was like Westeros is old Earth, and that's why it's in isolation. You heard that theory?
I like that too. Yeah, I like that theory. It's genius.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like the others would seem to have the power to do something like that, but maybe it was some sort of peace agreement. Like I say, I think I always thought it was a peace agreement, and then you have the sacrifice gates, and you provide us with a certain number of babies. We won't invade, and everything is cool, and we'll create this wall for you, and it's all good. In the show, the Veil Lords didn't care about Sansa being revealed or the Lysa thing. Could that be an adaptation of Littlefinger making a deal? Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, yeah. The thing is the Sansa story in the show is different in that they combine it with the Jane Poole plot. And George did kind of have a problem with the Sansa story because it deviated quite a bit. And if you're going with like when they wrote that, I forget when the Elaine sample chapter came out. Because that comes out in Elaine sample chapter is one of the last ones to come out. So I want to say 2014 or something, 2013, 2014. I'm trying to think like when the scripts would have been written for Game of Thrones season 4. Is that when she comes down she comes down wearing all the black, and all of a sudden
she's Darth Sansa.
She's Darth Sansa, and everybody's like, Darth Sansa, and she's supposed to be a player now, which follows the fucking blurbs. Remember, Carmine follows the fucking blurbs.
Not exactly.
No?
If you read Storm of Swords, you can kind of get the hint that Sansa will become a player under Littlefinger's tutelage. So, like, it's hinted there. Like, someone who's like somewhat of a sleuth could figure that out and write the passage for the Feast for Crows.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe they got the first few chapters, or maybe an outline of what's going to happen, and therefore.
but they're like stating at the end of the Feast for Crows, at least has her saying, "Hey, we're going to invade the North." Okay, cool. And then them being like, "Well, we'll get to that." So I don't know. You gotta. Okay, let's try to.
By the way, to piggyback off the conversation you guys were having in regards to the seasons being out of whack, I want to see the theory where someone says that Planetos is in the Warhammer 40k universe, and it's just the planet is surrounded by warp storms, and that's what's keeping the seasons so fucked up. I'll take that. I know George is sanctioned it, but I'll take it.
Look who sent this chat. It's Sour Billy.
Hey, Sour Billy. Nice. Could Bran not wrest the army of the dead from whoever is currently controlling them? Override? Oh. That's true. So what Sour Billy is talking about, a name like Sour Billy, and then brings up fucking Override.
Yeah.
One of the weaker maybe Thousand World stories. Yes, in Override, it is about people telepathically controlling corpses, and then one guy overriding and taking control of somebody else's corpse and causing him to like murder people. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that he, if he hasn't a strong enough telepathy, shouldn't he be able to do that? Yes, probably. Man, yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe the Night King is really fucking strong. Of course, some people are like, is the Night King Bran? Is it Bran versus Bran? Like like Adam Warlock versus Magnus. I don't know if it's like some comic book stuff.
What?
Adam Warlock is he's his character, and he's fighting this guy Magnus for a while. Then he finds out it's himself from the future, time traveled back in time or something.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so he's actually fighting himself. Yeah.
Maybe that's why the others see Bran as such a threat, because he can sever their connection to the dead.
Maybe. Okay. My God, got to get through these. Got to get through these and head to bed.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm distracting you.
No, I know. The power woman from the 90s I associate Dany with is Murphy Brown, Xena, Uma Thurman, Shara, Gina Davis, and Christy Swanson. Man, Christy, you got a few, what are some other power women? Elizabeth Shue from Adventures in Babysitting. Is she probably the most powerful of them all? It's a different world back then, but yeah, it was a lot of these very they're often very tall, like Gina Davis and Xena and stuff, and Uma Thurman's quite tall too. But yes, the power 90s power women. Okay.
Ross, you're not gonna mention Scully from X-Files? Damn,
Scully.
dude.
Yeah, you should mention Scully. It's a power woman right there.
Mel glamoring Manson speaking passphrase spells that projects differently from people to people is magic enough for me. No,
that's technology. It's cloaking technology.
The cloaking technology. Like the question is where she got it from. How did she get that amulet?
She got it from a shy by the shadow.
Yeah,
it's from. There's a character in Tough Voyaging in the delegation in one of the Suflum trilogy ones. There's a character that is like literally he has a hologram disguising himself the whole time or whatever. Yeah,
that's a really good point. That it's just old technology. Is from old Earth. That if you think, what are we closer to technologically? Holograms on people, or building a wall that's 300 miles long and 800 feet high made of ice? I would say we're much closer on the holograms. Right?
Yeah. If you ever go to the Atlanta airport, they got the hologram gun. It's like, It's like there you go. There's holograms right there. They're using it in airport security.
You're right that she just has some ancient tech from Thundar the Barbarian kind of stuff. That's a cartoon when I was young. Thundar the Barbarian, post-apocalyptic world where filled with magic and super science.
How old is that? What's it called?
Thundar the Barbarian.
Thundar,
I've never heard of this.
Thundar the Barbarian. Let me look this shit up.
2 R's. Oh my gosh, look at this.
Oh, Trey, Google this. It looks like He-Man.
Yeah, it does look like He-Man.
Much before
Holy
He-Man.
Shit.
But I mean, obviously it's stealing from Conan, but like,
right.
Thundar the Barbarian was like incredible, like fantastical world, because it's fantasy and sci-fi at the same time, because it's a post-apocalyptic world, but it's like a children's show. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
there's werewolves and grizzly bears. Crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Thundar is actually really stupid, and he's just like, I hate magic, I hate technology, and he's the hero though. Is your novel a standalone story, or do you plan to have sequels? My novel is a standalone story. I mean, technically, I could go on with it, but it stands alone as well as it needs to. Like obviously the characters there's like ambiguity at the end, and there's the characters have directions they can go, but I haven't
No
really
sequels?
I haven't thought about what I would do with a
This
sequel.
is not going to be part of the Jacobs cinematic universe, or the Jacobs universe. You're not going to make like a
Jacob's cinematic universe that exists. The Winds of Winter fanfic and the dreams of ghosts and Indians. Yes.
Preston, you should have given like a very George R. R. Martin answer. That's like, I have not felt the need
I've
to
not
connect
felt
my
the need
universes.
to. So I've showed you guys. This is the book cover. I don't know if you all seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Some time I spent with like Carmine and Trey talking about this font and which font was best.
we spent so much time like trying to get like the picture just right and whatnot. By the way, I want to make this very clear in case people want to accuse you of this. That image there is not AI generated. Preston actually paid a real artist to get this done, in case someone tries to throw that at you.
Yes, I
but
did.
yeah.
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the font, by the way?
I think it looks great. I'm a little like, I'm worried now because now I had a proof, and then now I uploaded a new like version of it, and I'm fearful about centering, and everything's really stupid. And
have you reached
no,
out to
it's like, wait, is this post-apocalypse? No, it's not post-apocalypse.
Have you reached out to our mutual friend Nick about all these issues that you're facing?
He gave me enough information. I mean, all of the answers he gave were very good, and there. It was very, very helpful. Mm-hmm. In a sense, he had warned me, and I tried, about like, you need to like align the pixels perfectly. And I had uploaded something, and they had readjusted it and popped it in, and everything was fine. And the image, it was outside of their bleed range. They give you this range of where the book will be cut, and they're like, well, somewhere between this line and this line. So make sure that like nothing is in there. And what I had was like well beyond it, but it still caused errors, and so I had to go back and redo things.
Trey, if you ever plan on writing your own book, I'll introduce you to a buddy of mine. I think you've already met him before.
Yes, Preston Nick. Jacobs is off center. I didn't try to make this center. It was just there.
Someone said that.
Somebody. Yeah. But the reason for this is like, when you do this, isn't the full wrap. Like, there's a full wrap. Like back cover too. Let me get a full wrap here. All right, here we go.
Trey, do you want to write your own book someday?
Yeah, I think so. The Arizona trip, I might turn it into a book. Like, I'm going to turn it into a video, but there's so much in it, I might put it into a book, history book.
Like, when you do the full wrap, like, it's impossible to like figure out what's center or not, because you got to like figure out where it's gonna curve, and where there's gonna be another line from, like, because it's gonna dimple on either side of the vertical name and things like that. And so it's just so I was just like, fuck it. So I just like put it purposely off in order to try to not make
I'm honestly surprised. I'm still surprised you went with so I was able to make a mock-up, because Preston was telling me before he came up to the conclusion of this is the image. I was making like a mock-up of like what he was telling me, and I gave him like one of my first like rough drafts of like what he would want, and he goes, "That's it, something like that. That's it." And then he takes it to like an artist, and then that person just like knocked it out of the park. This looks great.
Yeah. No, they really did. They really did. Yeah.
I can't blame whoever thought it was post-apocalyptic for thinking that, because it's just this looks really cool and a little post-apocalyptic-y. But yeah, Trey, if you want to like publish your own stuff, I have a buddy I can introduce you to that helped Preston out with this, and yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to. I hope to someday. It's a cool thing to be like, I publish a book.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe a couple days. A couple days. You can buy the hardcover, and then I mean not the hard. I mean it's a paperback, but and then after that, you know, I'll try to work on the ebook. Yeah, that's about it. Carmine, you didn't make it through the entire thing, right?
I'm in the middle of it. Why? Oh,
okay,
what this guy's asking? Oh.
Well, it's just there's a funny line in the middle where someone asks like this question more or less.
You're giving don't give too much away about it. Let people buy this stuff. So you're gonna sell actual hard copies?
Yeah,
like physical copies.
Yeah, physical copies first, and then I'm probably I'll have the ebook. Like still got to do the fucking like ebook stuff. I've got to like that's more time figuring out like fonts and shit.
You gonna do a book signing or anything like that, or
I don't know how to make that work. I would have to buy a bunch of advanced copies, and then next time I'm in DC, like have a place to like meet people to like do signatures or to like ship them off to people or something. If I bought like something like that.
The problem with like shipping stuff off to people is you don't want motherfuckers to have your actual address, so you're gonna have to like do like PO box or something. By the way, what Michael asked you earlier, are you gonna write any more? Maybe not a sequel to this one, but anything else? I'm sure you have other ideas.
I do, but it's tough to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to the amount of like time dedicated to this, which was like, and how long I procrastinated on it and stuff like that. And, like already was outrageous. We'll see. I do have another idea for a book, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It's I don't know if I give away the premise, like it kind of like spoils the twist of the book, but I did have another idea where I kind of like had all had all these tribes named after Taiwanese, like like native Taiwanese tribes, and then but like have them be completely different, like have it be futuristic, but they're all for some reason the same, or maybe make it fantasy, but have them all be named after Taiwanese tribes. But then I have this other like twist that I had that I thought about that would make it a cool book, but I don't know if I could execute it or write it considering how long this thing took. But yeah. Is that the Kaaba on the cover? Yes, of course that's the Kaaba on the cover. I do miss Raised by Wolves. Do you think that do you think we romanticize Raised by Wolves to be better than it was?
No. It was amazing, and I won't hear anything else. It was fucking stupid, but good stupid. It's not funny, that's dumb, but fun, stupid, like The Room. No, it was just like, what the fuck is happening? What are you talking about? I'm having a good time, fun. So
yeah,
I will never forgive them for not.
It was so original. There's never been something that original on TV. I don't think there'll ever be something that original again on TV.
Preston, at the end of season 1, we were like, what the fuck just happened? There's no, like, I was not expecting them to kind of answer what just happened at the very end. Like, I was expecting the snake thing to just kind of, like, go away and maybe come back in, like, a season 5 or something. But no, they deal with it right away. It's a thing they deal with throughout the entire season. And then season 2 ends, like, what is happening? Fucking, oh my god.
The brain fruit? The tree and the brain fruit?
The tree and the brain tree, him floating upside down, and like it was such a creepy, it was so They did not do it well, in my opinion. The CGI looks so bad, but it was so fun. Like, it's just Netflix needs to do the right thing and just pick this up. Trey, have you seen Raised by Wolves?
I saw, I was listening to you guys talk about it, and then I randomly jumped in on a totally random episode where a girl had like a tooth that was like from Remus or somebody, Romulus
Yeah.
or something. I don't know which one, and it like she like tripped or something, and the tooth ended up like activating something. And I just remember watching like gasping. I was like, oh, the tooth like is real, like because like they treat it like it's like one of those Jesus relics, like the splinters that are from Jesus's cross, where it's kind of like bullshit. And then like the show was like, no, it was real, like it was actually was Remus's tooth or something. I was like, whoa, that's cool. I don't know. I like randomly jumped in on that episode. Like I had no context whatsoever. I thought that was cool.
You need to watch the whole,
it's like it sounds like everything
I mean, you'll be disappointed because it ends on a cliffhanger because they thought they were going to get a third season and they didn't. But is Raised by Wolves better than Mrs. Davis? No, Mrs. Davis is a much better show. Like it's a much better show in the sense that, like, Mrs. Davis is a closed, perfect, really good story. Like, all in all, like solid.
You would ruin it if it had a season 2. It would ruin it.
Like, yeah, I can't tell you about Mrs. Davis without ruining Mrs. Davis. But I think the person asking this has already seen it. But Mrs. Davis is probably that's just one of the best shows I've ever. Yeah.
Perfect. But, by the way, real quick before you wrap this up, when we do Andor, and we're gonna do Andor, you know that, right? We're gonna do a podcast for Andor. Definitely. My boy Bear, I want to get him to join us. You and him like the same shows. Like you guys both like Lindelof. He loves The Leftovers, and I tried getting him on Mrs. Davis, and he did not have the motivation to finish it. And here's why I think so. He's my Bear's my guy who's from California. He's a pastor, so he's a fairly religious guy. He's left like us, but he's a pastor. I think he says this is not true. I don't believe him. I think the reason why he won't watch Mrs. Davis is because of the guy at the diner. I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen Mrs. Davis, but I think he's offended by the guy at the diner.
Yes.
He says no. I disagree.
No, don't spoil it for people. Yeah. So Trey, you never got around to seeing Mrs. Davis?
I haven't. What's it on? Like maybe I should just.
It was on Peacock. Like just you're not. That's the problem. It was on fucking Peacock.
It's on Peacock.
But
Mrs. Davis, maybe I can like rent it on like.
Just torrent it.
Amazon.
Just fucking torrent it. What are you talking about?
Someone's like, Carmine, how the fuck did you watch it if you don't know what it's on? Don't worry about it. It fell off the back of the truck.
Don't worry your pretty little head.
It was on a VHS. It was mailed to him. Yeah.
The thing is, now Mrs. Davis. Okay, Mrs. Davis is Damon Lindelof, the guy who did Watchmen and did Lost and The Leftovers. Okay, but everything, like, as much as I love The Leftovers, and I do, Leftovers is very flawed. It's a very flawed show. There's things that don't make sense. Like his son's plot is completely pointless. There's a lot of things that are wrong with The Leftovers, as much as I think The Leftovers is incredible. The Lost, of course, has huge problems. Watchmen doesn't stick the landing very well, though it's a really good show. Mrs. Davis, it hits them all. It hits them fucking all. Like it's just... it lands. The whole fucking show lands. They like pull it off. It's just like, oh my God. Like it like took, like Damon Lindelof is so talented and he like stumbled a few times. Like, and he kept getting better because like Leftovers is better than Lost. Watchmen is on the same level as Leftovers. And then like Mrs. Davis is just, he just lands it. He just gets better and better. Damon Lindelof. But like, it's, but the show takes place in a future where AI has taken over the world, and it's about a nun and a cowboy who are searching for the Holy Grail.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Also, the actor who played Jock and Agar, he's in it.
Okay, now I'm sold. I'm sold. That actor's great.
I love him. He showed up randomly in Stranger Things last season. I'm like, oh, I love him. No, he's great in this too, man. It's Trey. Every episode will leave you going, "What?" But in a good
All right,
way.
I just
Yeah,
need to take the
this
time
is
to
true.
watch
Lost
it.
and
Mrs.
Watchmen both
Davis.
clearly had no idea how they're going to end, and like
Yes.
they Leftovers has a perfect ending. It's a fucking great ending to Leftovers, but Leftovers has some flaws along the way. But Leftovers has really great. My emotional connection to Leftovers is very big. But I think Carmine referring to the man at the diner.
Don't spoil who it is, because you're bad about. I love you, but you're bad about spoilers. Don't spoil it for
I
Trey.
know, but I'm saying that there are huge there are huge interpretation differences between Catholicism and Protestantism, and Protestant interpretation of religion even infiltrates like secular life in America. And so like even as an atheist and growing up an atheist, like I still have certain Protestant like superstitions that when you run into things that aren't Protestant like, you're like, that's weird. So like, for example, the first time I went to Latin America and I went into a Catholic church there, and you have big mannequins of bloody Jesus and like, and this like gore all over the place inside the church. You're like, this is weird. And you're like, and this is from an atheist who's like, this is all fucking, of course it's all fucking weird, but you don't see that kind of stuff in America because like Protestant churches are simple and basic, and even Catholic churches in America take their lead from Protestants, right? So like the churches look different. Or like, it was the first time I saw like a gaggle of women around a Mother Mary statue being like, oh, I'm like, that's a little weird, you know, like, well, because it's just kind of, people don't kind of do that kind of stuff, like, you know, so it's in America. So, you know, Protestants are very distant about their relationship with God, right? You know, and so when I talk about the guy at the diner, there's a, you know, that connection, you like in Latin American cinema, for example, that kind of stuff happens fucking constantly. You're Latino. You should all the Brazilian movies you should watch.
Trey, really? You're oh, you're talking me? Oh,
I'm
me?
not
Oh,
Latino.
oh.
I'm Chinese somewhat, but I'm not Latino.
What? Oh, okay.
This is true. Don't get me started on Protestants. All I know how to do is barn-style exposed wood beans, eat baked and boiled potatoes, and get mad about indulgences. It's kind of true.
That's yeah, that's about right.
It's some American churches are boring. They are fucking boring. Considering like go around the world, how incredible churches look. There's just besides the National Cathedral. And like, there's just not that many, or like the National Basilica. There's just not that many great churches in America.
Bring this up, by the way. When I get my boy,
to-
when I get my boy Bear on the podcast, bring this up, Preston, because he's very good spirit about this whole thing.
Mm.
And I'm gonna bring up the Mrs. Davis thing because I always give him shit for it.
Yeah, we should talk about that. Yeah, Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones season 1 is much better than Breaking Bad. Much better. Once you get past season 4, Breaking Bad might beat it. Yeah. He's not Latino. He's Latinx. Latin. Latine.
Close to banning that guy.
Latine. Did I tell you about ta 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 in Chinese? I'll tell this story and then I'm heading to bed.
Yeah, sure. Oh no, you have. Yeah, it's like the gender neutral words, right? Like,
yeah. So this is what's fucking brilliant about ta ta ta. I'll tell it again just because it's so fucking. Let's see. Can I get this? Can I get this picture? No, this is a better picture. I knew I'm being redundant because I tell the same fucking stories over and over again.
No,
My
no, it's
wife,
good.
my
They're
wife
interesting.
read my book and was like, "Yeah, this sounds like you." I've heard this before.
I had a girlfriend that did that to me too. Where they're like, you've told me this already, and you're like, shit.
So in Chinese, ta, it means he, she, it. So, or him, her, because there's no like accusative nominative. There's no subject object. It's all the same. So it's a ta, ta, ta. So he is ta, she is ta, it is ta. It for animals or it for God. It's all ta. However, when Chinese people started translating Western texts, they wanted to maintain the accuracy of the text. They wanted to maintain the nuance of the text. And so when they came across a Western word like he or she or it, or capitalized he, and they wanted to maintain that nuance, they would use, I've actually I don't see this it animals thing very much, but usually it's just the one. Anyway, but they usually, these major four were the ones, the he, she, it, and God. And so they invented these characters to differentiate between the different tas, purely because Westerners differentiated in their language. So the difference between the genders exists in the written form, but it doesn't exist in the spoken form of Chinese. Mm-hmm. Now, the young, hip Chinese that no longer like want to deal with pronouns and stuff like that have started typing into their like phones, like when they message, TA, because now they all of a sudden they don't want the differentiation there anymore. So it's very funny, right? That like to get back to, because of Westernization, their characters changed a certain way, and then to get away from that Westernization again, they actually have to use the Westernized letters again, TA, to like to undo the Chinese characters that had only existed because of Westernization. It's so weird. So like, yeah, like hip Chinese, if you're trying not to, deal with the pronouns, what's your preferred pronoun? Well, we're just going to use ta. My preferred pronoun is ta. Okay, well, that's it, And so, yeah, so, we all enjoy the dad stories. Ta, ta, ta. Exactly. Okay, guys. Thank you, Carmine. Thank you, Trey, for being with me.
Oh, yeah.
And
thank you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Maybe get some Berserk this week or something, if possible.
Berserk with the boys.
Fair warning: the only one that we got to do this week is Daredevil. It's coming out.
Oh right, yeah, Daredevil. Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, thanks everybody. I'll talk to you guys later.